Oh boy. Here we go. What did I put after that one? Just to see where I'm going. Right. Okay. All right. This is the beginning of the graphs that you'll see tomorrow. But this one is just meant to show. Now we have our Kathara grid, right? We have our density 1 shield, the telluric shield. We have the density 2 Duratic shield. We have the density 3 Turic shield. Down below our feet, we'd have the density 4 Maharic shield. Yes, sort of, yes. And up here we have the density 4 Maharic shield. Up there too. This is a part that wasn't shown in Kathara Level 1 Anatomy. We were working with this density 4 Maharic shield. This density 4 Maharic shield is called the Ethos shield. It is the etheric blueprint shield for the antiparticle universe. It is the photo-negative imprint that runs, actually the frequencies run upside down in our Kathara grid, and ours is called the Ethos imprint, runs in theirs. What the Maharic shield is, the Ethos Maharic shield, is a photo-positive of the same thing, the same alignments of our Kathara grid, because we're the opposite. We're like the photo-negative of the Ethos. So this ends up, their photo-negative ends up being the same thing as our positive. So it holds the same program of our own Kathara grid. That's why we've activated the Maharic seal from here first, because from the Ethos level, the etheric level, we can restructure the natural blueprint right back up to reconnect, because there has been a disconnection between the natural D12 and D11 frequencies in the main vertical pillar, and that would have prevented us from being able to activate the Maharic shield that goes with the PCM universe, our universe here. So we've activated this one in order to run the current up so it could then be run back down, and that's what we've been doing in Kathara Level 1, is using the etheric blueprint, the Ethos blueprint of the Maharic shield in order to activate the set of shields in the D12 subfrequency bands all the way up so we could reconnect the 11th Kathara center back to its natural alignment with 12 in the natural density 4 Maharic shield. So this gives us an interesting configuration that we will expand on more tomorrow when we look at the Lotum, because this is the core, one of the core diagrams that certain parts of understanding the process of how the Lotum forms is illustrated. But for now, I just wanted to be able to show you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shields, and this would be the 6th shield. These are technically the shield set that goes with the Particum universe. This one is Ethos, which is photo-negative of the antiparticle. This is the primal light field of the antiparticle universe. Our primal light field would actually run this way, but it is this shield that interacts with our horizontal shields, forming our Merkabas and things like that. In some of the diagrams that we've had in the Dance 4 program, we showed that up above our Kathara Center 12, we have a Merkaba that connects at a 14, a Kathara Center 14 point, but it's parallel D14 frequency that it brings in. And it's the same, it's the antiparticle universe brings frequency in from our primal light fields. All right, so this is beginning to show the interactions between the shields. And you look at these shields, you have your density 1 shield. It has the smaller part here is D1 frequencies, then D2, this one, I'm on the wrong one, that's the Ethos shield. Here you have D1 frequencies, D2 frequencies, and D3 frequencies. And then around here is actually the density part of the shield. This is the D1 shield, dimensional shield, D2 dimensional shield, D3 dimensional shield, and the D4 the density 1 shield, which is, that shield holds the same program as each one of these repeated over again in itself. This is the shield that forms the radial body capsules around the dimensional Huva bodies, and these are the shields that form the Huva bodies, all right, in the dimensional structure. So each level has their 3-dimensional shields. The next one is density 2, has D4, D5, and D6, surrounded by the density 2 part of the shield. And each of those shields, as we'll see tomorrow, does things with lines and vortices that make spheres, among other things, that create the radial body capsules and the different layers in which matter manifests. Up here we have D7, 8, and 9 in the density 3 shield. Here we have D10, 11, and 12 in the density 4 shield. These are the signet centers that they connect to. There's actually D13 is connecting right in through here, that second circle there. Now here with the vertical shields, this is what we would consider our density 5 Rishaic shield, or the Rishaic shield. It's the parallel one that actually goes with our system. As I'd said before, the frequencies from this interface directly with, from the antiparticle universe, interface directly with ours when everything is working properly, and vice versa. Now this would be the D13 field here, this big light field. So literally, this whole Kathara grid format and the shields are spinning within the standing waveform of the D13 light field, the parallel D13 light field. Then you have the D14 light field out around that, and then the D15 light field of the primal shields. That gives you the basic structure of the shield sets that go with any Kathara grid. Small dimensional Kathara grids have the same structure, and so do the large universal ones, and so do the ones inside of your body. Now at these center points here, these are the density locks. These open into the Manu void space. If we look at the frequencies of D13, 14, and 15, D13 corresponds to the Manu, D14 to the Mane, and D15 to the Ire. So these locks open up to the D13, or in this case the parallel D13 fields. Right? The lock spaces have within them what's called an ethos spark. The ethos spark serves as a smaller seed atom effect. Now, seed atom technically is between Kathara Center 6 and 7 at the Azure point, but there's little smaller versions of seed atoms that aren't called seed atoms. Some are called moda, some are called adhure, but they're little spinning balls of frequency, spinning standing waves that are composed of frequencies from the ethos shield that, again, when they activate, they progressively allow the flame body to activate by by depolarizing the radial body capsules. That means depolarizing the frequencies as they're running through the density part of the shields. There are ones that we've learned about so far that we've talked a bit about, which is the one at the Iyumbi point, the lock at the Iyumbi point, the lock at the Azure point where the seed atom is, the lock at the Rajna point that is in the head where the density 3 seed atom is. There's also another one up here between, this one runs between D12 and 13, and it's connected. It's actually a set of 2 seals. This one is between parallel 14 and 15. This one's called the Rana, and this one's called the Ada. Together they're called the Adrana. All right? This is called the Adrana point. And the levels, that when you look at the diagram, you'll probably be able to see it better in your own chart pack when you get it. You can see that this one, the Rana, connects the D14 and the D15 parallel light fields. And you can see that this one, the Ada, connects the D12, our D12, with parallel D13 light fields. Down here, we have another set of 2 density lock seals. This one corresponds to what's called the 0 point lock. This is a key lock in activating radial body into flame body. Now, this one is called the Ma'a, and it connects the, Ma'a, here we go again. Ma'a is not just a name of a person that's in a yoni. Ma'a is a frequency, all right, the D12 frequency. This connects the D1 frequencies into D12 frequencies into the parallel D13 light field. And the other part is called the Hadra. And this one connects the D13, D14 to 15, I believe that is. I'm just learning these too. Anyway, this is the Mahadra. So we have the Mahadra and the Adrana seals. All right, they're these sets of 2. There's one other set, and these are the ones we're going to be activating. See, when we're using a lot of the codes, with the Vecca code activations that were done today, and most people that have done the Dance Pro program have already done them, but the people who are just coming in from Kathara 1, you've begun the activation process of not only these seals for the flame body activation, but these as well with the Chris code that's used in the induction. All right, there's other levels to it, and these have to activate a bit more first before they'll begin their opening process. But these are the Mahadra Adrana. There's a code called there's one called the Veka Mahadra, and there's one called the Mahadra Adrana. That's because it specifically goes with those density lock seals, with those portions of the ethos flames that go with him. These portions of the ethos flames are called the Shalaya chambers. And then there's something called the Le'etore chambers, which are the ones that link directly into, they link the D15 parallel light field directly into the Ecka fields. All right. These are called the Le'etore and the Litue. The Litue anchors into the pineal gland, and this one anchors up into the Iumbi, and it begins a process of literally opening up all the seals all the way up to expand into the Ecka body. So it's part of flame body activation. What's interesting about these points, these ethos points, where you have the primary, you can call it 5 because these are technically considered as one, even though there's 2 seals, you know, the Mahadra Adrana and the, that Mahadra and the Adrana up here. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have 2 more, 7 seals. The 7 seals, right? Yeah, that one just hit me. I didn't even think of that before. I didn't count them really. All right, there's other seals, but they are primary ones in opening the Veka body to the Ecka level of the Ecka Veka body. Now, they also correspond to what are called the Hara centers that we learned a little bit about the fact that they exist in Kathara level 1. We have the Iumbi point seals correspond to Hara center number 4, which is the Sun Star crystal seal, and that corresponds to the Nadial complex, and also this one corresponds to Hara center number 1, which is the Core Star crystal seal, and that corresponds to the thalamus complex. Now, you can read these, and we'll cover them more tomorrow because we're going to talk about the Hara centers and the complexes that they govern in the body. But activation of these seals progressively brings the Hara centers and their corresponding complexes, embodied complexes, into activation. Once these reach a certain level of even subharmonic activation, it is possible to activate what is called the Ra center, which is a combination of various energy vortices from releasing of various seals that converge at chakra 3 and create an extremely powerful ball and pillar of frequency that can be used for not just hand transmission of frequency, but full body radiation, which means imagine a million little points of light all over your body. Every cell of your body has in its center a place where a little line of light could radiate out, where you look like a ball of sunbeams, right? This is the beginning. Activating the Ra center is the beginning of being able to transmit directly through the skin and through the cells, which is also the process of opening the meiotic and dyadic grids to do cellular breathing, where once upon a time we were breatharians, and technically we didn't need mouths or lungs. We just breathed through the skin. We breathed light, living light, kind of, except we weren't in water. We could go in water. We could go in, just about anything. We could stand in fire and breathe fire and not get burned, So this is the beginning of a fascinating process. It's kind of nice because we don't have to go after each one of the Hara centers and then laboriously go after each one of the complexes to slowly crawl them into activation. The processes of activating the Litue and the Le'etore flame seals sets the whole series of 7 seals in motion, which sets the whole series of these in motion, which gives us the ability to begin immediate activation of the Ra center. And that allows us to begin to be walking sunshines, cellular breathing, which will be the next stage in learning breathing technologies that will go in after, like Kathara 3. But this is the beginning, and the codes that we'll be using, you've got copies of them in black and white. They were handed out. These codes are the beginning process of activating the Lotum, which is activating the Le'etore and the Litue flames. And you'll see tomorrow what these are connected to and why they're very significant, because they are a very direct and immediate connection to the part of your anatomy that is called the Ecka body. All right, so it's opening your Veka body as quickly as possible to your Ecka body. This will give you sufficient frequency to begin to align your lotum crystal and all the little crystals that are connected to it with the original base imprint of your lotum, as when you came through from the Ecka, you had an original base imprint. It'll allow your axiotonal lines to go back to their natural formation and structure, so they don't continually get dragged in to the progressive pole shift that is taking place in the Merkaba fields on this planet. The planetary Merkaba fields are pole shifting. I'm not saying the planet's spinning around on its axis as far as the physical body of it, but the Merkaba poles are shifting progressively out of alignment on 2/3 of the grids. 1/3 of the grids are shifting back into alignment. What we're doing is aligning our bodies and our axiotonal lines and our crystals with the part that's going back into the natural alignment, so we can receive the heliotalic frequencies, we can regenerate our templates, and we can progressively, between now and 2012, clear the mutation out of the DNA and out of the shields. So for once, we can maybe begin to experience what healing really means in ourselves. So this is the beginning of understanding this process of realizing that we have these 7 seals here. They're all connected to the things we learned about in Kathara Level 1, and they will rapidly take care of activating those things we learned about in Kathara Level 1. There's some people in some healing systems out there that play with the Hara level system, but they don't know much about these seals. That information tends to only be given on the planet when it's absolutely required. It's security clearance information, and for it to be being released publicly, it means that there is clear and present danger, that these frequencies are needed to keep the imprint for health alive and well within the bodies on the planet. So that's why we're being given these technologies fast. And that's why, partially why they've been so hard to pull. There's so much data, there's not enough time in a day to pull it through. It's like the moments here are too small to fit the amount of data that comes in from the plates on this. These are coming not just from the CDD plates, but the CDD plates are interfacing directly with the living memory matrix of the Ecka to pull this data. Because this data is not just on the plates. It can be downstepped through the plates, but it is in such a security level that it's never been recorded on the plates. Only the ability to access it with a lot of permissions, directly from the crystal body of the Ecka. So this is pulling the data from the Ecka crystal body level on the the level. And it's a real privilege to be able to work with this information, but boy, was the frequency leap huge. I mean, just the difference between pulling this transmission and pulling one that was a regular one on the plates that might have gone up to D15 frequency was, I mean, my body was going, oh, I could do 10 minutes and I had to lay down. I had to literally go to sleep just to process it. And I had to come back and do another 10 or 15 minutes. So if it was this difficult to bring in the information on those frequencies, because they're so high, they're pulse lines, which means they pulse, their flash lines are very, very, very fast compared to what the body and the planet's pulse lines are. It makes it difficult to bring it in. Now we can get used to this. Exercise is what saved me. I had to really use exercise to amp my axiotonals, to make my Merkaba spin faster, because when you exercise it does all those things. So I had to amp my fields in order to amplify them, in order to get these frequencies in. When you begin working with these, you'll probably need to do a bit of that in your own way yourself, or they'll just shut off. Your Maharic shield will shut them down, because your Maharic shield won't allow you to OD on frequency, because your own avatar level of self doesn't want you to spontaneously combust, so it will shut it off before it allows it to run. So it's kind of like this one. The frequencies that we're bringing through once these 7 seals are released will be dependent on how much we really want it there and how much we are willing to work with our bodies, not say, all right, you body, you're going to handle this. No, you have to be nice to your body. It's not no pain, no gain, nothing like that. You have to be gentle with your body and respectful of it, but for once maybe look at it like whatever's stuck in it that you don't like or whatever it's doing that you might not be happy with, put that aside for a minute and say, this is a part of my consciousness. It's probably not happy about being stuck in this particular, configuration either. Let's work together, body. Talk to it like another person. Talk to it like it's an animal that lives with you, because it kind of is. Right? Right? And you want to be gentle with that animal. You don't want to beat it over the head all the time and constantly criticize it and make it feel bad about itself. You know, they're Shona light programs. What you want to do is give it encouragement and give it, talk to it. If you talk to your body, your cells, they're a part of you. They're in a different place of perception than you know yourself to be. But they experience reality just like you do. When you send negative thoughts towards your body, at your body, it experiences them as Shona light fields. They're heavy and they're slow moving and they interface with the natural pulse lines that the body is supposed to be functioning on, and they actually amplify the mutation. If we can look at our body as a pet that we're in this journey with together, and together we can heal, and after that we can do all sorts of things together and have fun, both of us. You'll also find there's other things in your body that don't belong there, and they're not you either. And your body goes, not me. And it goes, not me either. Who is it? It's elemental attachments. There's going to be lots of elemental attachments clearing as we clear our miasmic imprints. Right now on the planet, there's things going on. There's a major elemental evacuation taking place out of people's bodies who are going with the 1/3 of the grids that are going up in frequency into what's called the bridge zone, that are going into Ecka alignment. Because if the elementals, and usually elementals they're forms of consciousness that actually attach from the elemental D2 kingdoms, and sometimes from the atomic kingdoms, right into the body. They can manifest as substances. Sometimes they get together and manifest as cancers and those kind of things. But these are forms of consciousness, often distorted forms of consciousness, and they won't be able to hold the higher frequencies that you're going to be activating with Christic DNA. So they're going to be running for cover and trying to attach to other things and get out of your body, where at the same time we'll be drawing to ourselves elements, molecules, elementals of a kindly sort that are of the light and that want to be with the light and that can tolerate those frequencies. So our bodies are going to start to become our friends, which would be nice. I mean, I've had I always felt, well, I kind of borrowed it, so, I got in. Because I am an indigo walk-in, which means a part of myself that was not that incarnated from density 2, started the body, and we had a deal. I'd get her out in ascension, and then I'd come in once the body could hold my frequency. And I did, but I kind of got to here and stopped. Where I'd come in, but like my head's up there someplace, and my feet were about here in my astral body, and I was walking around kind of like, oh yeah, what are they down there? Legs. Oh. Yeah, where at this point I'm having to integrate. The elementals that live in bodies are absolutely amazing. I had to meet mine, and half of them were the part of myself that was in the body before I was able to get in. And there's literally this evacuation taking place of the ones that can't hold frequency, and a coming in of new elements and new forms of light and consciousness into the bodies, because they know they're going up. So our bodies are actually hosts. They always have been and they always will be, for elemental forms. Think of all the things that live in your body, right? Think of the bacteria and the good bacteria, the things that do good things in there. We're never alone. Anyway, releasing of the 7 seals begins a whole new process, a whole new jump in frequency that will prepare us for conditions on the planet that are about jumps in frequency that are taking place because of events in the larger interdimensional drama, that there are events at this point that are beyond our personal control. No one person can change the planetary events. You can affect them, but you can't wipe out and make it be what you want it to be, impose your will on it, because there's a lot more going on than just, a few billion people running around on this planet wishing it were one way. There's a lot more factors. But we can prepare our bodies to handle the frequencies. There's going to be a bit of frequency chaos progressively emerging, because you have the planetary shields are splitting. That doesn't mean the Earth is going to rip apart. It's almost like if you took a photo of the Earth that was made of 2 overlays, like transparencies, and then moved the transparencies apart. Where it's not that half the Earth's going to go this way and the other half's going to go this way. Is there's going to be an imprint of the whole thing, one going each way. And some things will be on this one, and other things will be on that one. So we're moving through that now, and it's going to be a frequency competition. There's going to be this struggle in the grids. We're starting to feel it now. And because of certain conditions that have to do with the Shona fields and the Shona crystals that are activating now around the planetary, thing, the frequency struggle is going to be more than it needs to be. It's not going to be pleasant. These technologies are meant, and opening these seals, are meant to give us enough frequency thrust to hold our ground and say, no, thank you, our crystals are going back this way, you're not going to drag them over that way, because we're choosing the Christic path, and we don't particularly want to explore what it means to have a tandem Merkaba. Let's put it that way. And I'll explain that later. That's a substitute for the M word. Okay? Okay, anyway. So you'll see more of this diagram tomorrow. But I wanted to show how the shields are, how the dimensions are, the dimensional levels of the shields are inside, going from small to large, and then you have the density part of the shield around it, and they form the Huva bodies inside, and then the radial bodies outside of them. And to let you know that the Ra Center activation that we're going to do tomorrow will result, because we're triggering all of these into activation by activating those two ethos flames. The 2A, we started that earlier actually in Paxos, but we just started it. And when you activate the Ettore, they arc together, so they both activate quickly. So it's an exciting process that we're involved in. I keep saying, wow, what's happening in the world and in the universe that we need this much frequency just to handle our fields? Now, when we activate our frequencies, what it means to activate flame body means you will be getting all sorts of neat configurations in your auric field where you'll get various ones. You'll get, first of all, your heliotalic staff will be, now the heliotalic frequencies from the Ecka are really pretty. They look, when you see them with inner vision, they look like pastels, but mixed with a bit of like silvery and sometimes a little bit of pale gold metallic. So they're like a metallic light, pastel metallic light spectrum. They're actually a liquid light spectrum of the Ecka levels. And they're very, very healing frequencies. I can't really compare them to anything else that I've seen. They're kind of like pearlescent pastel with hints of pretty metallics running through, and they sing. They have this lovely kind of choir effect, not quite as distinct as my fan did, but a little, yeah, that was a little different. Yeah, but anyway, there will be a column of these progressively opening in the biofield. And what's interesting is here's where we begin. We're going to begin activating the hands, the lotus hands. Tomorrow we're going to activate the lotus hands, and this means we get to reclaim our missing thumb. Only in the etheric, though. But that's all that's needed. We're going to learn tomorrow about these little orbs. There's 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, and 3 here. They're called monadic orbs, and they're very important as far as a number of things. One of them is holding the proper alignments between the Lotum crystal and the Ecka Lota crystals. They're also very important in regenerating I'm so tired, I'm having a hard time talking. The Shale light fields, the living light fields. And we'll talk tomorrow a bit about the monad, about when you see 3 balls like this together, what it means, because it forms what's called a trivecca. And the trivecca configuration is one stage of the form of creation of eternal light, where there's a breathing rhythm that happens. When you look at a trivecca code, which is simply the 3 circles, I don't have one right here, right now, but it's the 3 circles moving through each other. They project out at 45 degrees from each other, and then they actually draw together and come into 30 degrees. And when they hit 30 degrees, and the 2 of them form a bivecca fold, a Christ spark happens, and then certain things happen. So this is how light is actually created, natural light. And it's a distortion of that, which has very specific numbers of charge. Each one of the balls has to have specific frequency charge to it for the pattern to work. So we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow. And these monadic orbs are activating sparks of living light that will be eternal sparks. They will stay open and activated, that allows for the full imprint, the original base shield imprint, to return into the etheric form, which will give you back your missing thumb and probably a whole bunch of organs inside that we don't have anymore, right? That have to do with breathing through the skin, with breathing through the holes in the center of your cells, the Manu windows, of opening the Manu windows in your atoms. So this is the beginning of something exciting. We've begun a bit of activation of these over the last year or so in part of what are called the arc interface gates that have to do with these spheres. But we'll learn more about what these are. This, if you remember, the staff and the rod alignments that showed, you actually saw all sorts of signet centers from the Kathara grid, the Partha Kathara grid running this way and the Particum one running this way. This is about progressively activating all of the seals in the rod and the staff, so you can get the full activation of your rod and staff back, which forms like a spiraling tunnel of frequency running one part of it running this way, the other part running that way. It also, these activations will also create various levels of flame activation and the flame body configuration, which is the Akasha configuration. That's your big Akasha bubble around you, that your field goes from being a capsule that is not opened to its center, because right now our fields are kind of like oval shaped, where they don't have that tip going up because the top seals aren't open, where the direct connection to the Ecka isn't activated. When we activate that and it opens fully and the Heliotalic pillar activates, we get back the shape of our Akasha bubbles, which is the eternal life configuration of the biofields. So that's what we're building, and this is what we're going to be activating tomorrow. What else we got there? How am I doing on time? Whoop. Mm-hmm.
Is that also related to breathing through the skin and this sort of thing?
It was a beginning phase. All right, that's like, I mean, they were technologies that were given in 2000. They're still viable for a start, right? But the activations that we're giving at this point are so much stronger than that. That is a beginning point, but these are much stronger. The optical pineal, the one that's the one staring at the solar frequencies, isn't it? Yeah, carefully, so you don't go blind. There's a better way to use the internal systems before you play with that. It's not that you don't use it. You can use it to start generating living light sparks. But the way to generate them first is inside. We have these technologies now. People can use those, but once you have both available, use these first. And then play with those, and you'll actually get much better effect. And it will speed up the activations than if you just use the tangible structure ones alone. All right, so I don't know if that answers the question to the degree you wanted it answered. Okay. Anyway, next one. 5 after 10. 26 milars. Let's go quickly. We had 26 milars to do it. It's 5 after 10. And I want to run the 6 steps. I at least want to let you know what they are. I might do that in the morning, actually. I'm getting that. He's going to have them in writing in the morning. All right. All right, so to run them in the morning, yeah. Okay, anyway, we're going to go through this really quickly. There's a lot out on this already. I'm just going to show you from where we've come through learning about the Kathara, learning about the Kathara grids, how they form the Ecka-Core template and the Ecka-Core bodies, learning how they actually overlap each other in the same place and create these signet alignments and all of that. From there, we learn about Merkaba, and we've learned so much about Merkaba that I wouldn't doubt it if half the people that did dance were really tired of the word, because it's like they're nice things. Yes, it's nice to have functional Merkaba fields. However, can we move on to something else? I get this way with it sometimes, but for people who haven't been, with it, don't know this part of the program, the Merkaba fields are sets of counter-rotating, spiraling vortices of energy that serve as the living circulatory system of the entire multidimensional anatomy. We'll learn a bit tomorrow about where they form, because they actually form inside of the lotum crystals, and it's because of the lotums that Merkaba fields form. So we'll find out more about the formation of them. We're not going to talk too much about Merkaba tomorrow, because it's going to be about lotum tomorrow. And that's the next stage. That's like, yes, we finally get to go past Merkaba, right? I mean, Merkaba's great. It's great to know how they're supposed to work. I got really tired of explaining to people that don't ever spin your top and bottom spiral in the same direction unless you want to phase lock it into a Shona light field that we have the word for now and turn it into an anti-Christic Merkaba field that's the same spin spiral set. All right, so I'll go real quick over Merkaba, basic structure, how it fits on the Kathara grid, and why the two spirals in a bivector Merkaba are supposed to spin in counter-rotating, opposite directions, not in the same direction. Okay? And once you understand that as a circulatory breathing system, you'll see where Merkaba fits within the greater structure of the multidimensional anatomy. It's not the most important part. They're all important, because you take any one of them away, or you mess it up, and it messes up all the others. So the Merkaba fields are a relay system, and there's many levels of them. Can we go to the next graph, please? I'm just showing that one real quick. That one showed the density levels of Merkaba. This we started, I believe this appeared in the part 2 of Kathara level 1, where it began to show where the Merkaba fields were, the levels of them, the density levels, because each density level has a Merkaba field, and they progressively expand into each other to form the 4 different levels of the density Merkabas. You have the Nethra phase, the Hala phase at density 2, the Quatra phase at density 3, and the Mahanta phase at density 4, and then there's a Rahanta phase at density 5. So these are Merkaba fields, sets of spiraling, counter-rotating vortices, and they're actually star tetrahedron-shaped vortices. This has to do with the ruche, as we'll see tomorrow when we talk more about the formation of the lodum and about where the ruche vortices come in. It is from the ruche vortice sets that Merkabas get their shape instead of just being circles. When we first started teaching Merkaba, we had people visualize them just as spirals at first. Don't worry about the points and where they're supposed to be pointing yet. They do have points on them, but they've been misaligned because of the Shona fields here. So when we started teaching them, first we started I'm so tired. First we started to teach people to spin them in the proper directions, where you had one going one way and one going the other. The top Merkaba spiral is supposed to be in the Particum universe. It's supposed to be clockwise. It brings in frequency, spiral's frequency from parallel D14 down through, stepping it down from density 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 down here. And the bottom one is supposed to spin counterclockwise, and it draws frequency, Ire frequency, up from the planetary grids and spirals it up through the body and out and back up into source. It upsteps it. So there's supposed to be a breathing rhythm where incoming is like the exhale Manet breath, and incoming from the bottom counterclockwise is the exhale breath, taking the frequency back out again. It's a natural breathing rhythm of the Merkaba fields. So this was very rudimentary drawing. At least it got the idea that you have these fields around you and they're connected to the shields. Right? Their drawings got better as we learned about where Merkaba fits into Kathara and those kind of things. Can you go to the next diagram, please, love? Okay, this is going to be in your chart pack. I'm not going to cover it now. It just shows you basic spin rates of levels of the Merkaba, of the density Merkabas. It also shows a bit about DNA, about vector codes and fire letters and little things like that. So these are some of the things that we've talked about, because as you're activating Merkaba, you're activating DNA fire letters, and you're activating shield templates, and you're activating Kundalini, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just to show that, yes, this information is there too, and it's covered in more detail in other things. Next one, please. I got to get through these fast. At least some of them I need to catch up with. Now, when we began, this was the key to understanding a lot of things. When we started to be shown how the Merkaba field does fit into the Kathara grid. There's a specific way it fits. If you look at it this way, here's the Kathara grid. Here's the electrical spiral, clockwise spiral of Manet frequency coming down from D14. Now, Merkaba fields are interesting. To draw one, it's always fun, because they're equilateral triangles, I believe they're called, where all the sides are equal, right? Now, did you ever play with this shape to try to get all the sides equal on a Kathara grid before? Just exactly where what crosses through what to get it to come out equilateral and still look like a Star of David. This was interesting. But it's because the angles are very precise. These Christic creation mechanics are very precise. So there are specific angles that you'll notice, for instance, the electrical spiral coming down, right? Comes down from, here's parallel D15 up here, comes down from 14. There's a seal in parallel D14, which is in that Rishaic shield, right? The one that runs vertically. All right, here's our 12th Kathara center, right, with the 12 and 1. It doesn't start at 12. It starts at 14, brings frequency down, and begins to spiral it down and downstep it, clockwise, down through the Kathara centers. Comes down to here, only to 2, not to 1. You'll also notice, and you'll notice this even more so when we show you the other diagram, where if you remember the rod going across of the signet lineups that go with the antiparticle universe Kathara grid that would be running through horizontally, there are specific cross points. There are seals over there that are actually holding those cross points of the Merkaba together here. All right, here I've shown the central density shield, the density 2 shield, Doradic shield in the Merkaba at very specific points where the rod runs through this way and the staff runs through this way. The bottom one goes from, again, the parallel 14 light field, which again is running in the shield this way, that Rishaic shield. Running from there, it goes up and stops at 11. Now within this shape, a sphere forms. Anyway, a trion field forms. How's that? All right, we get a spherical rotating standing wave actually, called the trion field, forms between 11 and 2 in there. Between 8 and 5, the miage field forms. And in the center is where your manifestation forms, your huva bodies and your manifestation forms. Now this would be talking about a density level one. There's also smaller dimensional ones, and there's also bigger ones that hold many densities. All right, this shape is called the biveka Merkaba. Okay, biveka Merkabas can go vertically and horizontally, but they cannot make the angular shift to go 45 degrees to be able to go diagonally. So they are a limited form of Merkaba, but they're a natural form of Merkaba when they have these configurations. We'll get into a bit tomorrow where we see where angles are supposed to cross through. If you made this a clock, what degrees are what supposed to cross through on? Because actually these don't come out on the 45 degrees that would come out from, if we took 45 from the center, it would come out through 9. That'd be up here. That's where the Lotus arcs come out. That's not where these come out. So there's a whole set of mathematics that governs the formation and the placement of Merkaba fields, which are vortices. These are spiraling vortices, and they're linked into seals, which gives them their shape of a star tetrahedron. Okay, so that's the beginning of understanding Merkaba. There's a lot more on Merkaba, and it's significant to understand that we've been, the planetary Merkabas, part of them are going into what's called, I'll show you in a little bit, a same spin spiral set. And the other part are regenerating their natural ability to run Shale light fields, the living light fields. So the Merkabas on the planet are splitting. That means the Merkabas of everything. It's like those two transparencies being pulled away from each other. So part of our miasmic body is probably going to go one way, and part of our who we know ourselves to be that wants to stay in the Christos is going the other way. So we're going to go through these separations in Merkaba fields within our own cells as the planet goes through it as well. We learned more about Merkaba. Next one. Oh, and by the way, this is called the actual field. And we got into the differences between the actual field, where the actual vortices are spinning in the interdimensional spectrum, and the virtual field that they create, which will have the opposite rotation, which can make you very dyslexic when you start to think about it. But we had to do this because at one point we were showing where it was important to spin your Merkabas in this way to restore the Christic imprint instead of the way they were actually being taught by certain groups on this planet who are using what's called a tandem Merkaba that we'll talk about in a minute. Not much, but just a little. This again shows the spirals, the electrical spiral, magnetic spiral. It shows the electrical spiral forms the trion. Remember, it's running electrical mana frequency, incoming antiparticle frequency, and it makes the trion field. This one is the magnetic one, the spiraling energy Ire frequency up, and it creates the miage field, the smaller miage field. You could look at it as the electrical field or the light field and the magnetic field or the sound field inside of it. These flows here are called shield flows, And shield flows are called, when they come in sets, where there's a progression, where first one activates, then the next one activates, then the next one activates, and it progressively brings frequencies in increments, which is a very complicated way of moving pulses of flash lines through the shields in very specific ways. They're called stands, shield stands. So this is just showing that this Merkaba is connected to this particular shield stands, this one to this one. We got into the shield stands because at one point we needed to activate them when they were activating in the planetary grids, so our bodies could latch into them and also activate, and our bodies activating helped the planet to anchor those activations as well. So this shows you, again, the Kathara grid from Particum and the Kathara grid from Partic together, because they're in the same place. This shows you the Merkaba structure for the Partic universe that runs this way. Its top is here, and its bottom is here, okay? Where our top is here, and our bottom is there. So when you put them together, we'll show you what that looks like in a minute, you get not just a biveka Merkaba, but you put these two together, you get a double biveka Merkaba, which has twice as many points, okay? It would have twice as many vortices. You also have twice as many flows. These are the beginnings of opening the natural lotus flow, these stands here, these shield stands. When you put those two together and you take away the Merkaba fields, you can see your rod and staff signet alignments up to D15. What's interesting is when we get into the diagrams for tomorrow, these extend beyond into the Ecka and Akasha gates, where you see how, how far the rod and the staff actually expand, because we're going to be activating frequencies on the tips of the fingers and above the head and below the feet that are beyond these ends of the rod and staff. So this is what gets us back our etheric thumbs and activates the little monadic orbs at the ends of the fingers and things. So anyway, these are all connected to Merkaba. Next one, please. Stuff to do. Now, this is the double biveka Merkaba. Okay, you can look at it, you can see it probably better by looking at your page when you get it in your chart pack. But this shows you the Kathara grids that form the Merkabas, and the Merkabas put together like the Kathara grids come out to be the double biveka. It also shows you the two shield stands flows, which are the beginnings of the lotus flows, put together. Okay, let's see down the bottom. I don't need to get into that stuff. That's just showing more of the shield flow patterns. Okay, next one, please. So as far as Merkaba goes, I do believe we have the most comprehensive program on Merkaba that is available in the New Age movement. This is the beginning of our Akasha Merkaba, where it has 6 planes on top. And if you notice, this is the shape of a Kathara grid, right? That's the umbrella shape, the bottom of the umbrella shape. And this is another shape of the Kathara grid. It's like the Christ and the Kristalla shape, right? So there's more. We've got a lot on this too. What I haven't put in here is that we're not getting into Hethara and Hethalon and the biveka and triveka fold of the Merkaba fields and all that jazz that just took place between May and August of 2003. We can save that one for another book. But anyway, this is the Akasha Merkaba, which is progressively being activated through the process of flame body activation and the related things that all of the work is about, clearing the mutation. All of this is progressively building and activating the Akasha Merkaba, which has a bunch of little biveka and a couple, 2 in fact, double biveka Merkabas within it. Next one, please. I might actually make it. Time-wise, yeah. 44, huh? What time is it? 20 after 10, okay. What time we have to be? All right, good. I will make it. Yeah. Okay. Now, if we remember the shape of this, bless you, in terms of your Eka-Veka body template, okay, remember the 4 Veka quadrants? Each quadrant forms a single biveka Merkaba. It also has within it 4 smaller density ones, right? That applies to this one, the Particum universe one, the Partic antiparticle universe one, the Partic primal light field one, and the Particum, our primal light field one. So there's an interesting thing that happens when all of the frequencies are activated in the shields, all the density ones activate inside of each one of these, that brings this one into activation. When that happens here, 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 and here at the same time, something really neat happens. Where can we push that up a little? Yeah. Is this up or down? I get totally dyslexic on these machines. All right. These come together, the antiparticle and the particle, and the antiparticle and particle light fields come together. They swing together onto the 45-degree axes. They each form a double Viveka Merkaba, one on top and one on bottom, and that opens and activates this one, which runs the Ecka, right? This is where this is. That is the Akasha, and the Ecka-Core is up here, okay? So that is the form of Merkaba that activates when you've fully opened the frequencies to your Ecka-Veka body. Okay, next one, please. That shows it on the Akasha and Ecka template. All right. This shows the Kathara grids of the Akasha or Ecka body, which are, if we have our 1 down here, that's like if we're looking at just D1, 2, 3, 4, they have the 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. It runs a 0.5 scale, which means they're a step of thrust above ours. Their frequencies resonate, a half step above ours. So basically combining the particle and antiparticle, and the primal light fields, particle and antiparticle, bring together, form 2 double Viveka Merkabas, and that opens the third, which is the Akasha Merkaba. And that's the first level of Ecka-Veka body activation. That's after you get done activating all the little density levels of the flame body going up that would correspond to the little Merkabas going up in the density scale. Okay, next one, please. Let me see what I put after that, because I think I know where I'm going with that. That's base shield. I have base shield written on the top of that, don't I? Yeah. Okay. Now, this applies to things we're going to learn about tomorrow, too. See this odd-shaped thing here? This is called the seed atom. It is the 15-cell seed atom. Now, in tiny form, it exists at the center of the Amareya flame, and it exists as the living spark that sets in motion any creation and exists in the azure of whatever Kathara grid you see. It also, that little tiny 15-cell seed atom of the Akasha seed atom, creates a template, a shield. This is called the base shield. This is called the Ecka base shield, in fact. It has configurations that you'll see in a minute where there's all sorts of coding, mathematical coding in this, but this is the actual form of a natural seed atom. It is not supposed to just have 7 cells like some people teach. That's half of one. That's taking the core out and leaving the rest of it. That is one that has a 7-cell seed atom, would be ripping these 2 apart so they can't come together to form a double Viveka. Some systems of Shona field, Merkaba fields, are built on creating those. They are finite life Merkabas. They're black hole technologies. But the natural ones are 15-cell seed atoms, and they expand out to form what is called the Ecka base shield. Now this is the base shield. Anything that comes into manifestation within the Ecka system or in the Veka systems, the smaller Veka systems and their densities, leaves the imprint of its organic, pure creation template in the base shield. When we talk about the technologies we're going to use tomorrow, they're called base shield bonding, where we're bonding our lodum crystal and our axiotonal lines back to the original imprint in the base shield. Now to do that, you have to be able to access the base shield. If you're down here and you have in these frequencies and you have all of these things closed and you haven't activated your Merkabas yet, you're not going to be getting the flow of frequency that will allow you to pull in the frequency to bond to the base shield. So the frequencies we've been progressively building for the last 2 years, really, in the programs, have been to bring in enough frequency where we can now open those 7 seals so we can activate the frequencies of the Ecka, so we can do base shield bonding. So Axiom base shield bonding is bonding of the Axiom template, which is the DNA template, into the original base shield imprint, and it's done through the Ethos field, which is connected to the Ethos density 4 Maharic shield down below your feet. And the Lotus base shield bonding is the other part of the technology. And the two of them together will allow your axiotonals to make sure they stay in line with the part of the planetary grids that are going back into the living light fields instead of going into the ones that are getting phase locked into Shona light fields. And it's this is what I'm referring to when I say base shield. All right, so because we're going to talk about that a lot tomorrow. So that is the core template. It's like a shield. If you look at the, Vekkas, and this is the Akasha here. It links, it runs the full length of the Akasha, and it is the base shield from which the Ecka and all the Vekka systems manifest. All right, next one, please. And it's also part of your personal anatomy. You have, just like the macrocosm has these structures, so does your body. This is a closer look at the base shield and the 15 cell seed atom. It's called, there's different parts of it actually. This information, I just didn't have time to white out. Technically it doesn't go into Kathara, but it doesn't hurt being there. It just tells you about Hetero and Hethalon and what happened in 2003, because the planet is going through changes where it has just received a reset of its seed atom in a third of the grids. And there's a whole process that the planet is now involved in that is a process of resetting the 12 Rushe pillars, which is resetting the time waves, the genetic time codes on a planetary level, not just of things that are in biological form, but literally the matter pulsation time codes, to get the planetary body where it can again hold the faster pulsating Charlet light fields instead of the progressively slowing. And then it's funny, the Shona fields, they slow and then they speed up really fast as they burn out their seed atom until they compact and eventually explode or implode, depending on what their particular structure is. So anyway, this is the base shield and the seed atom. The seed atom would be the tiny point, and from the seed atom, the program expands out into a scalar wave shield that forms the base shield. All right, next one, please. Oh, yeah. Okay. Looks like somebody bit it. Right. Now, this is an organic, meaning it occurs sometimes by natural causes, compacted Shona finite life Merkaba. All right. When certain frequencies progressively get distorted within the shields, at a certain point, the seed atom will begin to slow to the point where it causes the staff, which should be up here, it causes the staff to repel its connection and break away from half of Kathara Center 12. So you end up with half of Kathara Center 12 stuck on the Kathara grid and the other half broken off. This is the point up here in what's called the monad up here, that you would have the Christ spark forming right through here. And it breaks off at that point. Becomes a finite life Merkaba at this point. And so whatever is inside of it, whatever, remember you have a trion, a rayon field, and a trion field, and a miage field, and then the manifestation field, whatever. It could be universes, or it could be a single person, or it could be an atom within it. But it shifts axis following the rotation that it did have before from its parameter field out here. It shifts axis, and it's supposed to shift in the particle universe. It should shift clockwise, and it becomes a finite life one because it's no longer connected to the living core supply of frequency. When that that's coming from the monad that's connected to the Ecka-Vekka systems. Now, it's basically breaking off the top of the staff, so it no longer has any more frequency coming in from the eternal life fields. When that happens, the Merkaba fields interact in a way where the one that's spinning the fastest, which in the particle universe would be the top one that should be spinning clockwise at 33 1/3, and that's the electrical spiral. In the particle universe, that would override the spin of the other one, and it would cause them both to go in a clockwise direction and pull together, compact, and phase lock, and they would become a same spin spiral set. Any same spin spiral set Merkaba is an anti-Christic Merkaba because you cannot have a same spin spiral set while you have a natural living staff current running down the center vertical column. Okay? Once you have a same spin spiral set, it will continue to expand energy into its manifestation, expand itself while burning out its seed atom, because it can no longer reset the seed atom. There's certain cycles that seed atoms get recharged by the natural crystal bark that forms at the monad. But when the monadic core in here gets cut off from the monad of the Vecca, you can't recharge this anymore. So it expends its energy out into manifestation within itself, and then it eventually has no more frequency to expand out. And at that point, while this is happening, the Kathara grid it's made of actually pulls together. It elongates and gets thinner this way, and it pulls the spirals in where the whole sphere around it, the whole parameter sphere, shrinks and gets smaller and smaller and smaller until the thing finally compacts in on itself, and then sometimes implodes, sometimes explodes, depending on the conditions around it, actually, in the fields around it. So that sometimes happens by accident, let's say. It's always a result of choices made in free will. If this were not a free will system, you wouldn't have problems like this. But if you make choices that progressively damage your shields, like say you decided you were going to have a drug addiction for 6 billion years, just to see what would happen. And every lifetime you took out a good portion of your shield, till finally you had hardly any of its natural scalar waves standing up that could receive the living light fields. At that point, your shields would start to spin so slow in their natural direction that they couldn't anchor any more of the frequency, and they begin to repel the natural currents of the staff, shoving them back up the staff instead of having them come down, and that would crack the top of the staff. All right, so that can happen by it's a cultivated accident. It's not an intentional thing. I'm going to create this to do something, that's going to steal energy from someone. It's something that can happen on occasion. Even when a being or a system gets caught in this state, now it can't regenerate at that point. It's Christos seed atom in itself. It will go through the ashes to ashes, dust to dust process, which is once it expends itself, once it expends the energy of its seed atom, it will have a brief time left while its manifestation holds, and then the manifestation and the shields and the Kathara grid will progressively fall apart, and it will go back to units of undifferentiated consciousness. It still has an imprint, whatever it was, in the Ecka base shield, but it can't link to the imprint anymore when the seed atom has gone into complete reversal and the staff is completely broken. All right, this happens sometimes, and even beings that are caught in this, they can still choose, if they want to live in Christic ways, and they can still make what time they have left joyful and dignified, and walk with Christic grace by remembering what it is and choosing to settle for nothing less. Just because, like say, if you were part of a race that got itself in trouble and its whole shield was going to fall because of playing with physics the wrong way and making external Merkabas and things like that, and you found that your Merkaba was going to do this, and no matter how you tried, you weren't going to be able to regenerate. There's a peace that comes in knowing it all takes place within Source anyway. It's just a matter of path. Are you going to go back remembering, or are you going to go back to the sleepiness, where at least you're going back to Source? One way or the other, you go back. You can't go away from Source. So there's a peace in either process. The ones that happen this way are unfortunate, and usually there's a lot that can be done before this completely, gets to, there's a certain angle. I think it's somewhere down in here. I don't know precisely what the angle is, but if it shifts to a certain level, it can still be brought back again by hosting, all right, which is other beings and other shields helping that to host. Hello. Yeah, I think somebody's phone is ringing. But once it gets, past some axis, I forget what it is, right? I don't know what it is yet, right up around here, then you can't bring it back. So there's a lot of hosting for beings and things that have gone into that. There are whole systems, parts of galaxies that have gone into this state and been brought back again. This is one of them. This time matrix happens to be one of them. Now there's one other kind of Merkaba field that is called the tandem Merkaba field. Let me put the next one up, please. And this is another Shona dead light Merkaba field, static light Merkaba field. It is contrived. The only way a tandem Merkaba is formed is through very specific manipulation of high physics with electromagnetic fields. And it is the formation of an external Merkaba field by forming an a distorted internal false lodum crystal, Shona light crystal. And that crystal itself will form a Merkaba field outside and around it. Now, the tandem fields are called tandem because they require first forcing the breaking of the staff of whatever the thing is in the Merkaba field. It could be a universe or it could be an atom. It requires you breaking the staff first, forcing that to break off, which means reversing the currents coming up here. So they repel each other and it causes the staff to break. Then dragging them over together where the axis shifts, where it used to be at this axis. And if it were a normal antichristic one, it would actually shift this way in the Particum universe and the other way, away from each other. They would shift away from each other. The tandem one is a forced, contrived technology that forces, instead of having this one do its natural antichristic thing when its axis breaks, its staff breaks, it's forced over into this axis, and the other one is forced over into that axis. So they actually line up this way and form what's called the solar cross alignment. Now, this artificially blends on a reverse current the particle and antiparticle systems, and they move in tandem at that point. Where one moves, the other moves in counterbalance because they are stuck together. It creates it links their rods together through the central Vecca gates that would be running down the 45-degree axis, and that's the beginning of creating the external Merkaba field. Can you go to the next one, please? Now, the numbers on here are applied to what the planet, our planet went through. Okay, they're not always those specific numbers, but they all come out to creating a reverse 13 seed atom, and then progressively building from the 13 to 21 to 34 to 55, and creating the word I can't say, spiral. Yes, I can say it actually. I'm just trying to respect requests. Now, once that formation is created here, it forms these two twisted, reversed Merkabas that have been forced into linking together, form two pyramidal vortices, one in the antiparticle universe going 21, the other in the particle universe going 34. All right, this one in 34 counterclockwise and 21 clockwise. This is the formula that begins the creation of a massive Merkaba field that will, it's called the 55 beast because it progressively expands. There's a whole process of where it forms a Merkaba, the spirals pull together, it eats itself and draws in an equal amount of energy, and then expands out again, and it keeps going up in increments from what it had before, and it creates if you want to know about these, there's a couple workshops I could recommend that aren't ours, but I won't. Protect the names of the probably not innocent. So anyway, the tandem one is a technology that does not occur unless somebody makes it happen. These were built in Atlantis, and this is part of the reason why this planet is where it's at right now in its evolution. So the tandem Merkaba forms the pyramidal vortices along the solar cross axes. This begins the formation of a Shona, dodecahedron-shaped Shona light field, but it first builds up smaller ones. I think these might be Akasas in here, Akasahedrons, and they come together. When these two vortices finally pull together, they form this larger shape, and this creates this very strange thing that looks like a galaxy from the outside. It's a heat envelope around the outside of it. It has this capsule. You can't really see it. It's overlaid there, but it's hard to see it. Inside here, it has the captured Merkaba fields inside here, and this thing generates a vortice all on its own in the direction that it spins. It rips holes in the scalar fabric of whatever it's moving through, and eventually those holes get big enough where the whole thing becomes a black hole. It's a black hole technology. You can create wormholes with it, and you can create black holes, both of which are antichristic technologies that erode the natural fabric of living light that everything is built on. So there's your quick education in Merkaba mechanics, and why it's important to pay attention. If anybody's teaching you to spin Merkabas, think about it. Where are they teaching you to spin what? And is there anything that involves same spin spiral sets? Because that is the clue right there. They're teaching you to, if you don't already have a same spin spiral set, they are teaching you to reverse the currents of your staff to make it cause the break in the top of the staff, so it breaks off at the half of 12, all right, which is called the 11.5 point. All right, so just be aware. If you're aware, you won't buy into stuff. I mean, certain people that are teaching those mechanics, we've invited them nicely to a free public thing where the two of us together, because there was this public debate going on about who's teaching what, come out and talk about it, where we invite anybody that wants to come free. We'll pay for the venues, the two of us together. They declined. That's because they don't teach anything about Merkaba mechanics, real Merkaba mechanics. They don't teach the structure. So be aware. This is why we take the time to sometimes bore you to death. Sometimes you're still falling asleep, but you're still getting the frequency. So you know what the mechanics are of your spiritual bodies. So you can't be led off a cliff like lemmings into doing stuff to yourself or to other people that you don't really want to do. Okay? Next one, please. Yeah, some of these groups like to say, keep it simple, stupid. Oh, our stuff is too hard. Yeah, it requires a brain. You know, just a little one. And the thing is, you don't have to memorize all of it. Knowing it's there and seeing it once how the pieces fit together is enough for you to say, hey, I couldn't narrate it again, but I know I saw it. And there is a pattern here. And if somebody else is saying, oh, well, it works this way. Yeah, well, what about that? I remember this was part of the pattern. What do you say about that? And if they can't answer that, red flag, question mark. Either they don't know or they're hiding something. Yeah, or whoever they are channeling is doing that more likely. All right, now, oh, no, not these. Here we go. How much time we have left? That's enough time. That's enough time to get through. We can start tomorrow with the written technique, okay, which is good. All right, now we're into the last leg of the journey of understanding the parts you need to at least have a familiarity with to understand Lotum and what that's going to go into. And these are, again, the Kathara grids. These are the dimensional and density embedded Kathara grids. Not only do we have the antiparticle one running this way, we also have stacks of them running from in here all the way out and up all of our density bodies. Now, what's interesting is you'll see when, I believe it is on this one, this is the one that if you trace the points directly into the body, when we showed the original Kathara grid inside of the body in Kathara 1, these points were drawn directly from this particular grid, which is the density 1, D3 mental body, single dimensional Kathara grid. All right, so they were the Kathara points we were working with. And when we look at it now with the knowledge that we have now, we realize we were first reclaiming our mental body, okay, the D3 level. We were using the D3 level, and then we went to the density level, Merkaba, which is outside of that, in order to begin healing the mutations that are in the D1, D2, and D3 levels of the Kathara grid and the Merkaba fields. So this is, I'm not going to go through each point here. You can look at them and see where the points line up when you get the graphs if you're just coming into these graphs and haven't seen them. But the Kathara grid of the D3 mental body, the atmospheric body, is in these positions around the body. The positions send flash lines into the body, and they anchor in the Kathara points that were in the embodied Kathara grid on the D3 level. They also link in to other Kathara grids that come out this way, bigger, and in smaller, and we'll see what they look like in a minute. Other one, please. Okay, now, this is the still in density 1, but the D2 emotional elemental body Kathara grid. All right, see, it's smaller where the D3 one stretched out here. This one is smaller, and they are all aligned on the center point Azure at the base of the thymus. Okay, so they're all aligned on that central shield axis. Next one, please. I'm really tired. Okay. Here is the D1 monadic atomic body, single dimensional Kathara grid. And remember how we have the antiparticle ones sticking out this way and all that stuff. So each one of these actually has those also, where it's really like a crystal shape. This one is part of what's called the biocomputer that controls the atomic structure of the baby, the body. Right? I told you I'm getting really, really tired at this point. When I get tired, my brain is still fine, but my lips and my brain have a miscommunication problem somewhere. And my lips can't keep up with the speed at which my brain flies. Right? So anyway, again, it's at the Azure point. That's the center point of it. And in the center, there's a very tiny one that is the seed atom that has a horizontal little tiny Kathara grid that's known as the embodied monad. All right? So this is beginning to show you something that will help you understand Lotum more tomorrow. Next one, please. Do we have the Merkabas, don't we? Okay. And just quickly to show you, if you remember, every Kathara grid implies a Merkaba around it. This means we have sets of Merkabas around us too. This one's called the density 1 transharmonic Bivecca Merkaba field. All right? So that's the density Merkaba field just for density 1. Remember, you have density 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you would have 4 of those, and it would form the big 5th one. That's the one that swings in with the one from antiparticle to form the double Bivecca thing. All right? So you have that one and density 1. Next one, please. You can go through these fast. It's getting the idea across. That's what's most important, which shows you the structure of your anatomy and how all the pieces fit together. It'll take us forever to explain the processes by which what does what, but we're going to do a little of that tomorrow when it comes to Lotum. This is the D3 mental body Bivecca Merkaba field. Okay? And Merkaba fields create a parameter field around them, and they create the trion field, the rayon field, and then in here between 11 and 2, the trion field, and here, between 5 and 8, the Miage field. So this means with your dimensional Merkabas, you actually have these spheres of light and sound, of trion units and Miage units and rayon units that progressively form smaller circles. They're formed by these Merkaba fields. What's interesting is you also find out that when you see a Merkaba field, it implies, of course, there's a Kathara grid in there somewhere, etc. Also implies a crystal around it, and that's what we're going to go into tomorrow. It implies a Lotum crystal. And these are the parts. These actually control the Merkabas and the Merkaba axes, which control the flow, the circulation of energy, and the angles of the arcs in what is called the Lotus flow that runs through the Kathara grid. Next one, please. I'm sleeping on my feet. No, this is the D2 level, yes. D2 emotional elemental body, Merkaba. This shows you the fields around it, and remember there's the parameter field, there's the trion, rayon field, Manu field, and there's the trion, Manet field, and there's the Miage, Ire field. Okay? These would be fields literally around the body. The Earth has them around it itself as well. And this is how the electromagnetic fields of the Earth and the dynamics of the Earth core actually work. When you get into the real heavy levels of this stuff, it shows you the processes of the birth and death of stars and things like that. It's all connected to the functions of Merkaba fields and the rod and the staff and the interaction between multidimensional electromagnetic currents. Fortunately, we don't have to give that workshop anytime soon. Oh. And this is the D1 little Merkaba. Okay, so it's just showing you where these things are placed. And these things out here are there to show you the beginning of what's called the Lotus flow. So you know when you're doing Lotus breathing, what you're activating, the first part of what you're activating. You'll see a lot more of it tomorrow when you get the Lotum. Next one, please. Almost done. This is showing you 1 density's worth of embedded Merkaba fields and Kathara grids. One more, please. This one's showing you activating the 6-point breathing, right, at the Rajna and at the Azure and the Iyumbi points, and also down here at the Mahadra point, beginning the Lotus arcs. These are arcs of standing waves that actually the Merkaba feeds energy. It takes energy from those standing arcs and brings it, mixes it with the frequency coming down from the D14 where the top of the Merkaba is plugged in, and mixes them together to begin forming or stepping down the ray currents to make the dimensional ray currents. And the Lotus flow is very important. It's connected to much more than just these type of lotuses. Now we have these that correspond to the density lotuses that you'll notice have, if you look at the ethos flames, at the Yumi, the Rajna, all those, the Azrael point, all of those are like the center point in a lotus flower. The lotus flower is supposed to have, when you see 6 points, they should be at 45-degree angles. That is the beginning angle of projection of the, from Partakai to Partakay and Partakam, and that is the beginning of the breathing light cycle. When these merge with the ones from the antiparticle universe, from parallel, the parallel ones come across this way, you end up with double petals here, and the petals shift apart, and that sends them into like 30 degrees and 60 degrees, where there's none right on the arc because the vortice opens in here. When you see a 6-pointed set of arcs, and you have it over at, I believe it's 60 or 30, I think it's 60 degrees. When you see one of the arcs over at 60 and 60, and you don't see 12 petals, that is a Shona field distortion arc, which is formed by cutting off the connection to antiparticle and shifting the axis of the lodum crystal. There's a little trick to, I won't call it that, let's say the death daisy paradigm. They tell you that there are, they make it look like there are 6 petals, right? But when you take it apart, there aren't. It's built on an upside down 5-pointed star. There are 5 petals, right? Where there's supposed to be 6 petals, there's actually, the top one is removed, and they run them together where you have, removed and reversed, where you have 1 petal, and they look all pretty when you make the diagrams and stuff, because it looks like they all have 6 petals, but they don't. When you take them apart, you have 5 petals, ones, some of them reversed to give you the effect of 6 petal arcs. They're also pulled closer together, and what they are is compacted lotuses. So the death daisies are a total manifestation of, I'm not trying to be funny either. I'm trying to be polite. They're a direct manifestation of tandem Merkaba technologies, and they are a direct creation of Shona distortion filters, all right, Shona transposition filters, which are meant to transpose the natural angles that vortices would come in to your multiple levels of your anatomy into your system. It changes the angles that those vortices that come in from the Ecka interface with your pineal gland. It shuts down part of your brain. It shuts down part of your DNA. This is why this race doesn't remember who it is anymore, doesn't remember what it came from, and why our bodies get sick all the time, and why we die when we once were immortal. And what is really sad is this is an Atlantean drama, and it never went away. We're still in the middle of it. We just forgot. Now it's time to remember, because we have the ability now to bring in the frequencies of the living light again. We don't have to fight with the people that are doing their thing with their death daisy. If they want to do that, let them. The sad thing is, a lot of them have been tricked into thinking it's the opposite, and it isn't. So whatever they do with those technologies, we're all still going to be accountable for our choices, is what it comes down to. If we're following teachings that because we like the people, or because we like the idea of handing over a responsibility for ourselves to angels or something so we don't have to worry about it, and then if it doesn't work out, we can blame the angels and get another angel or something like that. If we make those choices, there may be consequences, particularly in the game that's running on the planet right now. So these technologies, these healing technologies, are meant to bring the ability of the living light of the lotus back, the real living lotus, not the death daisy. And tomorrow we will find out about what the lotum looks like and what the lotus flow has to do with the lotum, and how all of these things basically culminate in returning yourself to yourself. There's one other diagram that, well, actually I'll show you, no, then we'll get to that one tomorrow. That one. I just want to give you a little kind of tease. Okay? This goes with the Lotum series. All right? This would be your Kathara grid, except this would be your big Kathara grid of your 4 densities of self, right? Picture like, density 3, then 2, then 1. With you there's a little self right in here in your body, right in the center, right? This is a very rough rendering of what would be the Lotus crystal. Now, all of these points, this isn't just a fancy drawing of spinning things. This will show you how this is formed and created by the gate alignments that occur. If you call them gates, they're on the macrocosm. If you call them signets or Kathara center alignments between the levels of your Ecka-Veka bodies. This is a natural structure that's formed. They're absolutely beautiful. When I see them on the plates, sometimes I'll get visuals with the plates where it's like holographic images that I can see from, three-dimensional levels. I can look down around them, that kind of thing. They're just absolutely gorgeous. On the plates, they're like these spinning light forms, and they have sound, and these are the living light fields. What they're supposed to do, they're supposed to intersect with the body. So this is the beginning. I just wanted to show you what a natural lotus crystal should look like. Inside of that, you'd have your Merkaba levels, which I didn't show because there'd be so many lines on the paper you wouldn't be able to see anything. But we'll show you how this is built, what it's structured from, how the dynamics work. And then we'll show you Shona fields, and we'll show you the difference between Shona and Shale light fields, and why that if you actually care about eternal life, or even just care about general healing, even if you don't do eternal life this time around, try it next time. Healing is a good thing. Feeling better is a good thing. Why bringing this part of yourself back to life here is the best thing you can do for healing for yourself, and the best gift you can give to anyone as a facilitator. So we'll talk more about the Lotus tomorrow. We have I think somewhere between 30, there's 35, and that's halfway through the sequence. So there's somewhere around, I think, 60 more graphs that we'll have them by tomorrow. And we are going to then do the technologies. Fortunately, the technologies are easy compared to all the stuff to understand what they're about. But you will use them knowingly. You will know what you're doing when you use them, and at least what you're trying to activate. So you know there's a truth behind it when somebody says, why are you activating that? Well, because of this, and that's connected to that, that's connected to that, and that's how that works. Oh, okay, right? So you'll know. And thank you for being here today.
Can I what?
You're going to read through the steps, and then we're going to do it as an exercise.
Oh, when we do the practitioner client session, that's what we'll do.
Okay, because I don't know what you're going to take.
Okay.
You're not ready to do it.
Well, I can read each step through. I sometimes do. I can read the step, and then we can do the step. So you get it twice. All right. Now, we've got one of those dyslexic issues to deal with before we begin. I reckon we're going to get this in one, all right? Now then. I've got to get it in one first, right? Right. Yes. All right. A point is going to come when you're going to have a flame in each hand, and you're going to hear me talking about the way that flame is rotating or spinning. Okay? Look at my left hand as if it were a clock. Right, the top is 12. As you look at my hand, you're seeing 9 towards my thumb, 3 towards my little finger, and 6 at the bottom. Right. Counterclockwise, looking at my hand, same as looking at your hand or imagining it, counterclockwise is literally counterclockwise. All right. Look at your own hand, because you're looking at mine. You get confused. If you look at, it's the same. If you bring your hand towards yourself, you've got a clock face on your hand. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, don't worry about thumbs and fingers. All right? We had a discussion about this upstairs. Look at the palm of your left hand. Okay. At the top of your hand is 12. At the bottom of your hand by your wrist is 6. On the right of your hand is 3, and on the left hand is 9. Okay. Counterclockwise. Go from 6, 3, 12, 9. That's counterclockwise, right? Okay. Is that right? Right. And in the right hand, looking at your right hand with a clock in the same position, 12 at the top, 6 at the bottom, 3 on the right, 9 on the left, clockwise is clockwise, right? Right. Have we got it? Sorry. Shush. Wait a minute. If you want to ask questions, quieten down and ask the questions, please. Yes. It doesn't. Now, well, what I did, realizing that that's the mistake we made before, was to say, look at your own bloody hands, will you? Just leave me out of it, right? Look at your hands. And if you can't project the face of a clock on your hand, you're in the wrong workshop, right? If you can't do that yet, see me outside later. Now, seriously, dear ones, yes? Is pardon what? Wait a minute, I'll just check. Yes. Okay, so we're all right? Pardon me?
So what is right hand? This is counter.
Yes.
This is right clockwise.
Yes. Left hand, counter. Right hand, clockwise, okay? Yeah. So, yes? Is to what? Yeah. If I assure you, if it works for you, great. And if other people have heard you saying it spins towards your thumbs and it works for them, great. But believe me, I gave up on a single solution for this stuff 3 years ago. But I was on the point of saying, holding my breath, building charge like fury. I was going to say, did we have one in one then? Did we nearly get it in one? Yes. Okay. These things mean so much to me. You know? Are we done? Okay. Don't ever ask me an Irish joke about a chap called Nearly Done. I don't. Okay. So when I talk about stuff rotating clockwise and counterclockwise in your left hand, clockwise in your right hand, we'll just lickety-split, right? Smooth as a baby's nose. Ash will never believe me. All right. Now then, with your Ecka-Core codes on your lap, accessible to both hands, the Ecka-Core codes, that's the new ones, not the Veka Mahadra and the Mahadrajana. Not the Veka Mahadra and Mahadrajana. It's the one with the lotus petals on the right hand position. Sissa. Just like that. All right. Okay, this is something that we will only do together one time. This is the Ecka-Core imprinting, aka Ecka-Core Lotum initiation, imprinting the Ecka-Core code, activating the Shala A palm flames, and receiving the Ecka-Core monadic Christ spark. It's not very long, but it's very very relevant and very potent. So with your hands in position, everybody ready? Just nod. I don't want you to take your hands off the cards now. Everybody ready? Okay, I'll read each step first, and then we'll do each step, okay? So, step one is to put your hands where I hope you've got them. You never know. And stranger things have certainly happened at sea on occasion. Okay, with that, I can safely move on to step two then. Yep. Okay, just nod. This is the read through. Inhale and exhale, 3. Only 3. You don't have to do it yet. I'm just going to read to you what you're going to do. Inhale and exhale, 3. 6-point lotus breath from the Azure. Then on the following, the next 6-point breath, inhale. Visualize or intend that you are drawing an etheric Eros imprint of the codes up and onto the surface of your palms from the codes you're touching, of course, centered over the palm chakras of each hand. And the way they've been designed is that more or less guarantees that your palm chakras are going to be very close to where they need to be, even if you've got small hands. You now have an etheric imprint of the Ettore electrical and magnetic codes on the surface of your palms in your etheric ethos body. Okay, that's step 2. So away we go. Inhale and exhale, 3 6-point lotus breaths with your hands touching the codes just as you are. Breathing from the Azure. And then on the 4th 6-point inhale. I'll wait for you. So effectively on the 4th breath inhale, visualize or simply intend that you are drawing from the codes an etheric Eros imprint up and onto the surface of your palms, centered near precisely over the palm chakras of each hand. Then exhale when you sense that you have completed imprinting of the Ettore codes onto the surface of your palms. And when you've done that, just return to gentle 6-point breathing from the Azure. Now I suspect that once I ask you to move your hands, you may be worried about your codes falling on the floor. So if you just want to gently take them from your lap and put them down the side, if you want to move them. You can leave them where they are, it's not going to hurt. Now I'll read through the next step. You will next place your left hand, carrying the magnetic Ettore code imprint, over your Azure at the thymus. That's right here. Right there. Palm placed on the body gently. And then you will place your right hand with the electrical Ettore code imprint over the back of your left hand, with the right palm resting gently against the back of the left hand, which is over the Azure point. Okay. No breathing in that step, so just keep your hands exactly where they are. I'll read the next one where we are going to breathe. On your next inhale, when we're ready, when I finish this, inhale a 6-point breath firmly from the Azure, using the inhale breath to draw both the magnetic and electrical etheric ethos imprints of the Ettore codes from the surface of your palms and directly into the Azure. Now intend, whilst you're doing this, or visualize the 2 separate Ettore codes combining as they enter the Azure. So this is saying, intend that it will happen, or visualize it if you're able to, that as they leave your palms, they move into the Azure as a separate step for them. But as they're coming into the Azure, they're coming together. Okay, that's what this is telling you to intend or visualize. Okay? And they'll come to rest in the Azure as a single spark of emerald green and heliotalic, that silvery pastel rainbow color, within your seed atom, deep within the Azure center. And then you'll finish this step by exhaling gently and removing your hands from the Azure. Okay, so keep your hands where they are. So, on your next inhale, 6-point breath firmly from the Azure, using the breath to draw both the magnetic and electrical codes from the surface of your palms directly into the Azure, and intend or visualize the 2 separate codes combining as they enter the Azure, coming to rest as a single spark of emerald green and heliotalic pastel light within your seed atom, deep within the Azure center. And if you haven't already, just exhale gently and remove your hands from the Azure, return them to your lap. Okay, I'll read the next step to you before we do it. Next, we will inhale a 6-point breath from the Azare and hold the breath for as long as comfortable to build ethos energy charge within the Azare. Don't do it yet. I'm just looking at what I typed here. So we will obviously release that breath having held it building charge, because we'll then move on to another inhale. But this one will be followed by a rapid exhale on a 2-point horizontal axis, using the breath to push an emerald green and heliotalic spark horizontally out from the Azare and down a central axiom line that runs through the center of your arms. So the Etheric sparks arrive and hover at the wrists by the end of the exhale. Now this central axiom line is called the Etheric cord, and it is used, as far as we're aware, all the time in Kathara Level 2 work. All right? So this 2-point breath, which will crop up as we go through the rest of this stuff from time to time, simply means that what you're going to do, if you want to picture or follow the pattern or feel responsible for moving the breath, literally, you're going to breathe from this point out, as it were, to the join between the shoulder, this part, and the arm. And the breath is going to move virtually through a right angle, out and down. Okay? There's nothing about the etheric body and your arms really like this in the etheric. It's literally breathing this way from the physical perspective. Okay, so that's how we're going to move the breath when we do this part. Is that okay? Everybody clear? All right. Pardon me? Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you when you're using, at each of the stages, when it crops up, you'll be told specifically about the 2-point breath. It won't get muddled up with 6-pointers or any other kind. Sorry? Well, you're breathing from the Azare. In this technique, we're breathing from the Azare pretty much. We're not breathing from any other point yet. We haven't mentioned any other point or introduced one. So you're drawing breath to the here, and you're breathing in directions from this point. This 2-point breath, right, which actually is going to send a spark down the Etheric cord. The cord actually runs down the arm. Okay, so we're sending the sparks out from the Azare here, horizontally to the shoulders, and then down, vertically down the arms. At this stage, in this particular step, to the wrists. But we're going to go down to the palms, and we're going to do other things beyond the palms as well. So this 2-point breath is as we're describing it, okay?
So you mean that both left and right?
Aha. Yep. Yep. Well, it's a good thing to clear up because, you know. We okay now? Yep, great. All right. Thanks, Lizzie. That is a good point. How many people will ask that on the Europe, do you think? Now, where am I? I lost my place. Right, okay, now we're ready. All right. We're going to inhale a 6-point breath at or from the Azare, depending on how you like to think of that. You're going to hold the breath for as long as it's comfortable to build ethos energy charge within the Azare. In your own time, you will release that built-up breath, that held breath, slowly and gently. And then you wait until we're all together, and we'll go to the next inhale, which will precede the 2-point breath. And just breathe easily in the meantime. I think we're all just about where we need to be. Now, on the next, I'll remind you this, on the next inhale, you will rapidly exhale a 2-point horizontal breath, using the breath to push an emerald green and heliotalic spark horizontally out from your Azare in both directions. So there are 2 sparks, right? Horizontally out from your Azare into the shoulders and straight down the central axiom line that runs through the center of your arms, so that the Etheric sparks, 1 each, arrive and hover at the wrists by the end of your exhale. So this is a long exhale. Well, it can be a long exhale, but as you push out from the Azare, the breath, you're visualizing or intending these sparks arrive at your wrists just as you're finishing the exhale breath. So in your own time, inhale and then rapidly exhale, pushing the sparks out to your shoulders, down your arms, down the cord, I should say. Next, take a deep 6-point inhale breath into the Azure and exhale a forceful, are you doing this with me? A forceful 2-point breath down the Etheric cords in the arms, using the breath to firmly push the Etheric sparks hovering at the wrists into the center of the palms, deep inside the hands, centered in the small central palm chakra. Now, that's all right. Now, if some people thought that I was reading first before we did it and didn't do it, whereas some of you did it with me then, I'm going to have to do that over because we could leave some people out of the loop. So, next take a deep 6-point inhale into the Azure and exhale a forceful 2-point breath down the cords in the arms, using the breath to firmly push the sparks hovering at the wrists into the center of the palms, deep inside the hands, centered in the small central palm chakra. Do you know, there's just no consideration in the world anymore, is there? It's fine. All right, well, somebody needed a bit more of it, didn't they? That's fine. Okay, take a deep 6-point inhale breath into the Azure and exhale a forceful 2-point breath down the Etheric cords in the arms, using the breath to firmly push the sparks hovering at the wrists into the center of the palms, deep inside the hands, centered in the small central palm chakra. Look, I'll make you stand in the corner if you do anything. Look, I slur when I've been to the pub. Everybody knows that. I'm totally normal under some circumstances, you know. Sure. I do it on purpose, you know. I just need attention so badly. I know. We're doing well. All right. Step 8, I will read and then we'll do it. Take a final, slow, deep 6-point inhale into the Azure. Hold the breath for as long as is comfortable, and a few people could actually keep on doing it, as far as I'm concerned. Present company totally accepted. So, hold the breath as long as you comfortably can to build charge, then forcefully exhale 2-point breathing to push a small, golf ball size, emerald heliotalic Etheric ball down the Etheric cord in each arm, and into the palm chakras, where the Etheric ball combines with the Etheric spark in the palm chakras at the end of the exhale. All right. So, are we going to do it for real? Everybody okay? Right. So, don't intimidate me. Take a final, slow, deep 6-point inhale into the Azure. Hold the breath as long as you comfortably can to build charge. When you're ready, forcefully exhale, 2-point breath, pushing a small golf ball size emerald heliotalic Etheric ball down the Etheric cord in each arm into the palm chakras, where the Etheric ball combines with the Etheric spark in the palm chakras at the end of the exhale. Just return to gentle 6-point Azure breathing. And I'll read this and then we'll do it. Oh, you can do this right away. Just follow what I say now. Hold your hands gently out in front of you, palms facing upward as you breathe gently. You may notice a fizzing sensation occurring deep within the palm chakras as the Etheric balls and sparks progressively release the Shalaya rod seals in the palm chakras. Some people may notice no sensation, or maybe a little heat, or nothing at all, or a lot of heat, or a lot of fizz. But this is working regardless of what you think you're feeling. Just breathe gentle 6-point Azure Lotus breaths for a minute or two with your palms just as they are, waiting for the Shalaya rod seals in the palm chakras to release. When the Shalaya rod seals release, there may be a gentle popping sensation. As a beautiful ethos Shalaya standing wave, Akasha-shaped flame of pastel heliotalic light about 3 to 4 inches high emerges vertically upward out of the palm chakras in each hand, sitting lightly in the palms. Now remain exactly as you are, breathing easy, 6 points into the Azure. And as you do this, notice, and if you're not confident of visualizing, then imagine that the heliotalic Shalaya palm flames begin to gently rotate around their fixed vertical axis in the palm chakras. The Shalaya flame in the left hand, which carries the magnetic Etheric code, rotates slowly counterclockwise. The Shalaya flame in the right hand, which carries the electrical Etheric code, rotates more quickly clockwise. Now hold or increase, just for 30 to 60 seconds from this point, hold or increase your focus on the flames as best you can. Build intention of your connection with the flames if you can't see anything. If you're working with intention, mental command. Because what you're going to do now is to instruct the flames as to their key characteristic in a moment. When you feel ready, give the mental request command that the Shalaya flame in the left hand adopts a clockwise spin speed of 11 2/3. Counterclockwise, what did I say? Well, excuse me. I wrote it right. So we'll just repeat that for the sake of the tape and nothing else. Give the mental request command, the Shalaya flame in the left hand adopts a counterclockwise spin speed of 11 2/3. And the Shalaya flame in the right hand to adopt a spin speed of 33 1/3. In the meantime, just breathe gentle 6-point Azure breaths. And when I feel everyone's complete, we'll move on to the last 2 steps. We should all be ready to move on, I think. Okay, continue to breathe gentle, 6-point Azure breaths. And now bring your palms up together with their Shalaya flames. Bring them gently together in front of you, in front of your Azure specifically, in the prayer position. Or what is euphemistically known as the prayer position. That's the lottery angel's position. After 30 to 60 seconds in this position, you may feel a gentle etheric ethos sparking sensation. as the 11 2/3 counterclockwise negative magnetic and 33 1/3 clockwise positive electrical Shalaya flames merge and replicate into a unified Le-Ettore Christ 45 charge spark of Ecka Le-Ettore frequency. Now observe or imagine as the Le-Ettore spark emerges rapidly from the palms and arcs to the azure and seed atom. On completion, your biocomputer, monadic cluster, and multidimensional anatomy and physical body systems have now anchored the Eros Heliotalic Ecka Le-Ettore Christ spark to begin activation of the Lotus lines within the Axiom DNA template. Thusly, your biofields and shields and hands are now prepared to conduct the Kathara 2 6-step flame body activation client session, or to initiate other Le-Ettore flame technologies. So in your own time, just come back to literally, yeah, they arc between each other. The flames arc. When you breathe and you actually charge the flames, right? They actually literally arc across. Okay, the current arcs across them, right?
The third one, you said something about the azure and seed atom.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have to go from the hands
Between all three, yes.
so it goes like this?
Yeah, they're quite capable of it, yes. In fact, you will find when we go into the facilitation, when your hands are away from your body, far enough away from your body for the arcing to occur, because you're not focusing on it, but it could occur. And also, when you're with a client, you'll be very aware of keeping your hands apart so they can't arc before you're ready to actually transmit the current, specifically. So you're actually directing it, and things aren't happening accidentally. Okay? That's it. Yeah, yeah. Well, you'll find that when we do facilitation, we'll start cupping, so we're directing the current as well, which will tend to mask. When you do that, when we're doing a session, you'll discover it. We'll actually cup the hands at a certain point, and the arcing will occur where you want it to. Okay? So you're directing the current to arc in the way you want it to. Alrighty. Yeah, news just in. The butler cum chauffeur has been fired. There are 5 literals in the copy that will hit your chart pack because there's been no time to do the corrections. I just noticed them. I've been reading it to you, but I won't name the butler chauffeur. Ash keeps telling me not to say it about him, but he's got to go. All right, now then, absolutely raw, straight off the page. Now, if Rosaline and Mac can step up. We'll, as that lovely lady, Sarah McClacken, you will need, you need the Veka Mahadra for sure. You might need the other one. I can't remember whether we need it in this or not, but bring it with you. Yes, as that lovely lady, Sarah McClacken, once famously said, we will fumble towards ecstasy together. Sweetie, and so that people can see Mac, you will by now have been greeted and questioned and made to sign things and explained to. So by now you're lying down. By now you're lying down. No, that's what the chinless wonders in England say. Lying down, darling. Lying down? Yeah, just sit for a minute. What? Hello? You have a black and white copy?
I have
There it is, solutions. Excellent. This lady will be happy to loan you one. I don't understand. They were distributed yesterday. Yeah. Well, when the time, excuse me, peeps, this is not a catastrophe. When we reach the point where you're all going to run through directly rather than watch Rosalind and Mac do this, one person will be practitioner pretend and the other will be client pretend. The client pretend has a spare code set, right? Between you, you can share easily enough just for the particular circumstance. So when we get to that point, it won't be a problem. Someone will let you, I'm sure, let you touch their code. If you come across any meanies, let me know. The host bus is filling up rapidly. Yeah, just bide with me, okay. All right, so you're going to have to try and follow the instructions, and if you knew them already, okay. Alrighty then, Rosalina is going to take this. She's brave crew to hear this for the very first time, attempt to follow it, and use Mac as I was trying to think of an alternative because she's less like a guinea pig than anything I've ever known, you know. She's an angel, actually. Yes. Okay, now. I wonder if Asha says she'd tell us how long it is since this was ever practiced on planet Earth, you know, and you're going to do it for the first time. Isn't that good? Yeah. Well, if I tell you that the climax of this involves cellular breathing, just like the Ayani do naturally, doesn't it suggest something about where we're going with this? It really is. Yeah, I'm prickling all over too. I can feel you. Right. So, just prior to each client session, Mrs. Tobin, you would use the personal technique number 8, the Etheric imprinting, which is what we've just done, to imprint the Etheric codes, activate the Shalaya palm flames, and charge your monadic cluster with the 45 charge Ecka-Core spark. You've already done that. Now, you can do this if you want to, but it might be a bit too long to do it. You see, this 6-step flame body activation actually sits right in the middle of the Kathara 1 6-step Maharic recoding process. So you would have run, prior to the point of completion, the Maharic recoding process on the client, right? And you would add the Kathara 2 6-step flame body activation procedure as an additional modality just before closing the Maharic recoding session. Okay. So we'll suppose that you've done the Maharic recoding process on Mac, and you've reached the point prior to your normal closing. So we would now position the client lying down comfortably on the back in a relaxed state, ensuring that the room temperature is neither too hot nor too cold for the client's general comfort. So how do you feel, Mrs. Callaway? Yes, please. Now, what Rosalind is about to do is step 1, compound crystal code imprinting. Now, this is the meaning of the 45. This is what compound relates to. Okay? Compound effect of 11, 2033 and a third, 45. Compound effect. Action 1. Action 1. Using the Veka Mahadra Adrana hand imprinting chart, place palms over appropriate codes, and using a single 6-point lotus breath, inhale from the azure to draw the ethos imprint of the crystal codes onto the etheric body surface of your palms and into the activated Shalaya palm flames. Just exhale gently as code imprinting completes. you feel that it's complete, Rosalind, you just bring your hands away. Yeah. That's why they're set just the way. No, she has one code sheet. She has the Veka Mahadra Mahadra Hadrana sheet. She's not worked with the Etheric sheet. Yeah, she's working with that. Yeah. Yeah. Corresponding to the right and left hand so we don't get in a muddle. Okay. Right, the following action: immediately transfer the ethos etheric imprint of the Chris codes to the client by placing your left palm over the client's Azure point, not touching the physical body, but resting your palm about 1 to 1.5 inches above the physical body in the client's etheric body. You will place your right palm over the back of your left hand at the client's Azure. Action 3, draw a long, slow, firm but gentle 6-point Azure inhale breath and hold briefly to build charge. Then exhale a slow, smooth, gentle 2-point exhale of pale emerald green heliotalic current down the Etheric cords in your arms into your palms, using the simple 2-point exhale to transfer the Chris code imprint from your palms and into the client's Azure and seed atom. The client's own seed atom will transfer the Chris code to their Maharic shield. And there is an obvious question here, and the answer to it is both. Action 4, remove your hands and proceed to step smoothly into steps 2 of the 6-step flame body activation client session. So we're into step 2, Rosaline, and this is activating the density Merkaba field. Move to a position about 2 feet, or 24 inches-ish, back from the top of the client's head for access to client's chakra 12A. 12B is 6 inches below the feet and it will come into play later. From this position, place your left magnetic hand over the client's chakra 12A, palm facing towards the client's head, and place the right palm over the back of the left hand. This, I think, will come to be understood or known as the top spiral transmission position. Action 3. Inhale a long, slow 6-point breath into the Azure. Pause to build charge. And then slowly exhale a 2-point breath, using the exhale to run emerald heliotalic current down your Etheric cords, through your palms, and into the client's chakra 12A. And what's happening while Rosalind's doing this is covered in the notes which will be in your chart pack, including the literals the butler put there. Yeah. So your right palm is over the back of your left hand. That's absolutely correct. Pointing at chakra 12, roughly 24 inches away. 18, 24 inches is fine. Well, she's showing her palm chakras to the client chakra, which is correct. Okay? It's like two bullseyes facing each other is what you want to be aiming for. But you're not going to get upset about a millimeter or 3 variation this way or that. Okay? Now, what's happening, or what has happened by now, is that Marianne's top Merkaba spiral, which spirals positive particle electrical frequency downward into the body, will have picked up the negative particle magnetic frequency transmitted by the left hand Shalaya flame, and will draw in as much L'Ettore frequency as it needs from the universal L'Ettore flame through the downstepping links that Rosaline's shields have made to assist Mac in this access process. And this process, we've stressed in the notes, will not in any way draw or deplete your own frequencies whilst you're doing this, or any of these stages. Now, the fourth step, remain in the TSTP, the top spiral transmission position, for the time span of 3 to 6 slow 6-point Azure inhale-exhale breaths. You will use the final inhale by using the final inhale. You will couple it with a mental request command for the Shalaya flame to disengage connection with Marianne's 12th chakra. And once you've issued that request command, which is a respectful or a polite instruction really, you will remove your hands from the transmission position and just inhale and exhale gently. And at that point, the connection will be disengaged. And as a natural thing, just shake your hands out briefly to keep the frequency in your hand axiom lines flowing and balanced. Okay. And in a normal practice way, you do that in a kind of natural, discrete way as you now move to the chakra 12B position, 6 inches below the client's feet. And in this position, we're going to repeat exactly the same procedure that we're using, but there's a hand position change. Okay? I'll talk you through the steps, Rose, again. But the key difference when you move from the head to the feet is that you place your electrical right palm facing the bottom of the client's feet, with your left palm over the back of your right hand in order to transmit electrical frequency to the client's magnetic bottom, Merkaba spiral. So, inhale a long, slow 6-point breath into the Etheric, build charge, and slowly exhale a 2-point breath using the exhale to run emerald heliotalics down your Etheric cords through your palms and into Mac's chakra down there around the feet, chakra 12B. The same principles apply. And Mac will draw as much of the Etheric frequency as she needs from the universal Etheric flame. As a result of the downstepping link that Rosalind's making through her own shields, and under natural circumstances, once you've gone through these steps, then you will simply move into your own sense of a time span of 3 to 6 slow 6-point Azure inhale, exhale breaths, as you did before to disengage. You're beginning the disengaging process now. Use the final inhale, and again you'd use the mental request command for the Shalaya flame to disengage connection to Mac's chakra at 12B there. So whilst you're making these 3 to 6 slow 6-point Azure breaths, issue the mental request command for the Shalaya flame to disengage from the client chakra. As you do that and you complete the request command, remove your hands from the transmission position and then exhale gently following the first inhale. Connection will now be disengaged. and shake. You all right? How's it feeling? We'll move to step 3. You're going to need to go to her side. You can sit. No, you can't, because you need to get to her Azure in this and the Iombi. Step 3 of the 6-step sequence is next activation of the Iambic crystal and the Eros flame. So Rose is moving to stand, as you can see. She's standing next to the client. Either side is okay. There's not an issue with which side of the client you prefer to be on, as long as you have easy, or that's to say comfortable, access to the client's etheric Iombi point just below the navel. Now, the second action under step 3, activation of the Iambic crystal and Eros flame, place hands over client's Iombi point at their etheric body level. With the palms, I haven't finished the thing. Because some of this is different. With the palms separately facing downwards towards the client's Iombi point, hands side by side, each at the same height, above the client's body, with the sides of the thumbs and the pointer fingers lightly touching each other. So slide them together on a horizontal. No. You were right first time. You had it right. No. Flat. All right, like that. Just gentle. Yeah. So, can you hold your hands up and show people from the back? Put them up vertically, hon. Yeah, so they can see. Right. This is just a gentle connection between, let's say, your thumbnails, the knuckle, and the inside part of your pointing finger. Yes, you just bring your hands together, edge on, gently. All right? Yep, that's correct. Just gentle contact between them. Okay. So you bring your hands into that position over the etheric point, all right? Like that. Now here, in that position, you inhale a long, slow 6-point Azure breath. You hold that breath to build charge, and then you exhale a 2-point breath, slowly moving emerald heliotalic current down to your Ecka-Core arm cords, through your Shalaya palm flames, and into the client's etheric Iombi point. Okay? Now, once you've completed that stage, just breathe easy for a second. And the final action here is to complete a cycle of only 3. Only precisely 3. 6-point Azure inhale, hold. These breaths are 6-point Azure inhale, hold, 2-point Ecka-Core cord exhale breaths. Okay? So breathing in on a 6-point axis at the Azure, holding, and the exhale is a 2-point. Okay? Exhaling then take a final 6-point inhale and give the Shalaya palm flames the request command to disengage connection. So these are separate steps within action 4. So do your 3 6-point Azure inhale, hold, 2-point exhale. So you're breathing down the cords into the flames and into max etheric Iombi point. And when you've completed the 3, take a final 6-point inhale. Don't hold this time. Give the Shalaya palm flames the request command to disengage connection. And then when you feel ready, remove your hands from the transmission position. And then just exhale gently and shake your hands out again. And stay in the position you're in. Yes. Yep. Effectively you are. Which half? I did not neither. Did not. Did not. Anyway, if I did, it was wrong. No, I said I was talking to you telepathically saying, hold my hand later. No, I was probably mumbling something English. British, sorry. I will repeat that for clarity, in all seriousness. I can't see where I could have done this. I mean, the 1 to 1 inches above the etheric yumbi, that's clear. Did you hear me all right? Okay. She heard me all right. Inhale a long, slow 6-point Azure breath. Hold to build charge. Then exhale a 2-point breath. Not 2.5, 2-point breath. Slowly moving. Da, 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 da. And then we had to do only 3 6-point Azure. Inhale, hold. 2-point. I know. People are so rude. Especially members of your own family. Oi. Now you're right there, Rose. Good. Now we're moving on to step 4. Pardon? Pardon? I can't. What? Yeah. Yes. I'm playing. I did. All right then. We will. We'll do it again. We obviously have a more serious problem than I thought. So, step 3, activation of the Eumbic crystal and Eros flame. Place hands over the client's Eumbi point at their etheric body level, approximately 1 to 1.5 inches above the body, with palms separately facing downwards towards client's Eumbi point. Hands side by side, each at the same height, above the client's body, that is, with the sides of the thumbs and the pointer fingers lightly touching each other. The third step of this is to inhale a long, slow 6-point Azure breath. You hold this breath to build charge, and then you exhale a 2-point breath, slowly moving emerald heliotalic current down your Etheric arm cords, through the Shalaya palm flames and into your client's etheric Eumbi point. Now 4, and this is something that I need to check, complete a cycle of only 3. That's to say, take 2 more. We'll have to clarify this, okay? Hasn't occurred to Ash. Only just occurred to me, but we'll have to check it out. So complete a cycle of only 3. That's 2 more breaths, as I understand this. 6-point Azures. Inhale, hold. Exhale, 2-point Le Ettore cord exhale breath. That's down the arms, into the palms, through the flames, and into the client's target position, the Eumbi. And then take a final 6-point inhale. Give the Shalaya palm flames the request command to disengage. And then gracefully remove your hands from the transmission position. Take a little breath, exhale, and shake your hands out. Step 4 is initiating the ethos flames and lotus bud. If you'd moved away, you'd move to the client's side. Either side is still fine, where the client's Azure can be reached comfortably. You again adopt the same side-by-side palms down hands position that we've just used over the Eumbi, but this time placing the hands over the client's etheric Azure. Repeat the previous actions, steps of 3 and 4. Step 3, which is inhale a long, slow 6-point Azure breath, holding the breath to build charge, then exhaling a 2-point breath of emerald heliotalic current down your Etheric cords, through the Shalaya palm flames, and into max Azure point. You then complete a cycle of only and precisely 3 6-point Azure inhale, hold, 2-point Le Ettore cord exhale breaths. And then when you've done that, you will take obviously a supplementary breath, so you can just inhale, give the Shalaya palm flames the request, command, disengage. You remove hands from the transmission position and just do a little shake out. And that's that. Okay, Mike? Good. You're having a lovely time down there, are you? Yeah, cool. Excellent. Step 5. L'Ettore Master Code Induction. Remain in position by your client's side with easy access to the client's Azure. Action 2, stand quietly for a moment with your palms facing upwards. This is all quite different from what we've been doing, okay? With your palms facing upwards and hands side by side, slightly apart in front of your own Azure point. Horizontally, slightly apart, horizontally. Yeah, that kind of thing. Anything comfortable, but not touching, I think, if I remember this. Third step. Yeah, that's no, side by side. So the way you went, that's right. The way you went after you asked me. Yeah. Just comfortably side by side. I said I'm intuiting that it's separate. I haven't come to the instruction. I can't be sure 100% what I typed earlier. But I'm pretty sure we're going to find that they have to be separate, because there's an arcing problem that can occur once you start to charge the flames in your palms. If you're touching, they can arc, and you don't want them to do that. You want them to arc through the target point in the client's body. Okay. It's better to be away from the body. So they're in open air. Yes. Yeah. We'll see what the detail says, but I'm pretty sure we've got it right. Yeah, good. Well, that's important. All right. Inhale a long, slow 6-point breath into your Azure. Hold to build charge. Then exhale a long, slow 2-point breath, using the exhale to push a tiny emerald heliotalic spark down through each of your L'Ettore cords in your arms and into your Shalaya palm flames, keeping your hands still, palms up in front of your Azure. Next step. Keeping your palms and their Shalaya palm flames separate, capitals, so we got it right, keeping them separate from each other to avoid arcing too early, parens, move your palms gently into position over the client's Azure. Next step. Slowly bring your palms and the Shalaya flames together, cupping your hands. And this will be a downward facing cup. So it's as if you're directing, using your hands as reflectors to direct towards the target point, the Azure, okay? That's right. You show people. That's the cup, and the cupping position will be facing the client and the point of the body that you're working on. Yes. So, cupping your hands downwards over the client's Azure, then inhale a rapid 6-point breath of emerald heliotalic current down your L'Ettore arm cords and into your Shalaya palm flames. As the exhale breath current reaches your palm flames, quickly bring your palms fully together and into the prayer position, but still centered over the client's Azure. Yeah, repeat the breath, yeah. Inhale, rapid 6-point breath of the emerald heliotalic current, down your cords into your Shalaya palm flames. As the exhale breath current reaches your palm flames, quickly bring your palms fully together and into the prayer position, still centered over Max Azure. Yeah. Next step is inhale a 6-point Azure breath, then slowly exhale emerald heliotalic current in a 2-point exhale down your L'Ettore arm cords and into the praying hands palms. And as the exhale completes, gently separate the palms, bringing your hands back into the cup position over the client's azure. So you just fold your hands in, so you're cupping facing her azure. Keep your hands open at the bottom, so the cup is open and pointing towards her. Next step, breathe 6-point. Inhale, exhale breath slowly and gently for 30 to 60 seconds with the hands remaining in that cup position, waiting for your merged Shalaya palm flames to release their 45 charge Ecka-Core spark. When the Ecka-Core spark releases from your cupped palms, it will arc directly into the client's etheric azure and seed atom, delivering the combined electrical and magnetic Ecka-Core healing master codes into the client's seed atom. The client's own seed atom and Christos identity will determine in which way the Ecka-Core spark can best be used to facilitate personal healing. Now, Rose, when you observe or sense that the Ecka-Core spark has released from your hands, and if you're not sure, then after a minute or so, if you sense or observe nothing for certain, after a minute's up, inhale a 6-point azure breath and give the request command to the Shalaya palm flames to disengage connection before removing your hands from transmission position. Inhale and exhale and shake your hands out. Now, one final step. Step 6, cellular breathing, stabilizing the fields, quotes, passing the calm. That's what they call it. First action, stand back a few feet away from the from where the client is laying. It doesn't matter, just withdraw slightly. That's all it's saying, is to withdraw a little from field contact, Rose. That's all. Don't get off the stage, sweetie, because you're gonna have to sweep her up. I hope nobody accuses of overselling anything. I mean, really. Isn't it? Was it good for you, Mac? Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Just wasn't it smashing? Wasn't it smashing?
I thought I said
At least you know when you're lying there at night, sort of wanting to go to sleep and telling yourself that you're not hearing music in the hall. Because, like, you know, when Ash was talking about it, I think yesterday, I think usually she picks up first. It's unusual if I get anything like that first, but she's like going, you know, she said, what's going on? You know, I'm sure I can, and think, you know, it's the fan, or it's this, or it's that, or Lexi in her bedroom playing music when she should be asleep or something. And so she didn't really say anything to me. And whenever it might have been, like a couple of nights later, I'm lying in bed, and this is after the lime green lights whizzing past the bedroom window. Mac knows about this stuff, and then appearing to me on the TV screen even stuff. So look, it's doing it again. It didn't sound like that though. So there's this singing going on, you know, and I'm going nuts, you know. I'm not going to tell anybody about that. And so one morning I said to Ash, "You been hearing any music around the bedroom at night?" She said, "I wondered if you were going to hear it too." It wasn't the same though. Right, step 6, cellular breathing, stabilizing the fields and passing the calm. Pardon? Yes. That's the way the butlers put it anyway. Just like that, C-A-L-M. Action 1, stand back, carefully. A few feet from the client, allowing your biofield to momentarily enter its own space. Breathe a few 6-point Azure inhale, exhale breaths. Then complete with 3 6-point inhale, exhale breaths from your own etheric Iombi point. During these Iombi breaths, imagine that you, Rosaline, are standing within the center point of the Ecka-Core central flame, the point of eternal Manu stillness from which creation and all motion emerges. Allow yourself to embody this feeling of stillness and move back to position at either side of the client when you feel ready. Any way you like. On this side. Now, you continue to breathe gentle 6-point breaths from the Iombi, not the Azure. And whilst you continue to breathe 6-point axis breaths from the Iombi center, imagine, or intend at least, that every atom in your body has a tiny Manu window at its nucleus center. It's the same thing, nucleus. Imagine that upon every 6-point Iombic inhale breath, these tiny Manu windows open, sending radiant light lines of Ecka-Core emerald heliotalic Manet frequency outward through your atoms, through your cells, and outward into the atmosphere surrounding your physical body and aura. Just do that for 30 seconds or 60 seconds, something like that, Rosalie. Now, what Rosalie is doing right now is this 6-point breathing of the Ecka-Core frequency from the density 1 Iombi point activates the meiotic dyadic grid of the density 1 dimensional and density radial body flame body rayon fields, initiating the ancient sacred art of full body cellular breathing. Now, whilst you're engaged, Rosalind, stay there doing what you're doing. Whilst engaged in Iombic cellular breathing, raise your hands together, palms facing down, over your client's etheric Iombi point. Now, from this position, move your hands away from each other in an outward circling motion, forward and apart. So they're counter-rotating towards each other. That's right. That's right. That's right. Gently smoothing and calming the energies of the client's etheric body as your hands and your entire body and fields, you continue to do the breathing from the Iombi, darling. All of you, every bit of you, is radiating millions of tiny beams of Ecka-Core frequency throughout the client's biofields. Move your hands around and over your client's etheric body, moving upwards first from the Iombi towards the head. Yeah, that's it. And then down from the head towards the feet, continuing the outward circling smoothing motion. Now, when you reach the client's feet, when you get there, Rose, you will raise your hands up higher than the client's physical and etheric bodies to about 12 to 24 inches. So you'll be out in the auric field and continue a slow, gentle, about 2 feet, 12 to 2 feet above, yeah. continuous slow, gentle, outward circling motion, moving then from the client's feet at that level, yeah, exactly, in the auric field, upwards to the head. At that level, stay up at that level, yeah. Because you work through the etheric layers now, you've come up in the auric now, you're radiating out, breathing from the iombi through all the cells, right? Up to the head. And when you reach the head, and of course if you're standing and moving more comfortably than you're able to kneeling, this would be really rather lovely finale, I'm sure, to receive. And then just, you can come fairly quickly back, but you would come gently and gracefully back down the body, maintaining that circular motion in the auric field, about 12 to 24 inches above the skin level, back to the iombi starting point. You wouldn't go back to the feet. All right. And you would remove the hands from transmission. You come back to natural position now. Continue iambic cellular breathing as you complete the closing steps of the Kathara 1 Maharic recoding session, which is where you would go from this point. The footnote on the stuff that will be in your chart pack closes this technique by saying, after your client session is complete, go about the next few hours privately being mindful to continue iambic cellular breathing as if this were your normal breathing, to clear, stabilize, and fortify your personal biofields. Final sentence. Cellular breathing is the natural state of living light breathing, characteristic to the angelic human, the indigo, the Iani, and all Christic immortal races. Okay, sweetie? Rose, bless you, thank you.
I just want to say that was very, very powerful. There was a lot of sensation of heat, both at the Yumbi and the Azare. But I did notice when she pulled back, it was almost a jolt. So when you're removing your hands, please do so gently, because it really can be a shock to the client.
Yeah, Lizzie, she's a cracker for spotting detail. She asks lots of good questions. She's asking about the formality of disengagement. The way the transmission came in, there is no instruction to use the formality of disengagement with the flame at the point that we closed at the Iombi, but instead the instruction was to move into the closing of the Maharic recoding process. That's what we have. So, I mean, right question, Lizzie, absolutely spot on. But we don't have anything other than what's written. All right? And right now, I'm not getting anything.
Did I understand you to say that when it was over, that you should keep this breathing going?
Yeah.
So would that be that if you had a client, that you wouldn't be able to do a second one for a couple hours?
Well, I think that what we'll find in a sort of slightly mechanical way as we begin to discover what Kathara level 2 and 3 contains, because, I mean, remember, I mean, I don't, and Nash doesn't feel embarrassed to say that we're learning pretty much with you as we go along. So some stuff, I mean, you ask a question, and unless Mara wants to give us an answer, and he doesn't always by any means, he sometimes says, go figure, you know, in this chuckly kind of way. You got a heck of a sense of humor. And like, go figure, you should know. If it's serious and really important, they'll come and help, you know. What they're telling us is that this is the state that is our natural state. That's the answer to the question. What they're doing very gently is they're bringing your question to our attention. And they're being typically gentle, and they're saying, look, this is how it is for you. This is a gift that's been returned for the kinds of reasons you heard about yesterday, and by golly, you're going to hear a lot more, bless us all, before we finish tonight, about the significance of this. And as is the way, they offer these things and they never actually give you like a set of emergency instructions like you got 48 hours to get this sorted, otherwise you're going to miss the bus, you know. They don't do that. They just present it. Like, we do our best to bring the work through, and our job is to deliver the work in a literal physical way, and the other is unseen and undiscussed and unstated, which is about holding frequency and making that available, you know. So once you see a thing like it, and you see a footnote that says, oi, you know, cellular breathing is the natural state of living like breathing characteristic to the angelic, human, indigo, yoni, and Christic immortal races, it means, like, how soon can we do this all the time? And as we grow comfortable and familiar and we remember more often, our general confidence in playing with this will grow, obviously, and our questions about it will diminish, like they do. And it doesn't really matter how many people come to see you for a session, because you will be doing your thing, breathing this way, and not feeling it's a state you have to sort of enter and then leave, you know. So, like it says at the bottom, this is a state we get into and remain in once we grow accustomed to it. So then it isn't an issue, you know, it's no problem. All right, now then, yes? Yeah, this is a level 2 technique, and what we have been told is that this new technique is spliced into the Maharic recoding process that we know is the way of summarizing what Kathara Level 1 does. All right. So the instructions at the beginning are that you perform all of the Maharic recoding process as normal. Before you actually concluded the Maharic recoding process formally, both with the client and for yourself, you would then actually offer this as an additional modality. I think they say that in the instruction at the beginning. I think they're telling us to do that, yes. Adding the K2 flame body activation procedure as an additional modality before closing the Maharic recording session. So that's that. That's exactly it. Now, I don't know where my beloved is exactly. I was musing on whether we'd get the graphs done by 7, since we have to be out of here by 1 o'clock in the morning. She was tentative then. I was up for, and so was she, that if it seemed like we had time, at least to do a run-through for everybody. You know, I'll talk you through it, and if you find you have questions, if I can answer them, I'll answer them. If we can't, we'll carry it over, and if we can't answer them this weekend, then we'll make sure that any things that we hadn't thought over, asked about, or checked on come back to you pretty damn quick. I think as things stand, it's almost certain that we are going to have to complete the techniques after the workshop's closed. There isn't going to be time to get everything in. They are adamant that the framework for these techniques is delivered, and delivered, I mean, properly means direct frequency transmission. Once that is actually anchored in the shield, and I think that's what their concern is, then working with the techniques summarized on paper form is the best overall balance, and I understand that. So we will be providing you with updates to your chart packs. I mean, as it is, the chart packs are going out close to 100 pages anyway, I think. But there'll be some techniques missing, and maybe a couple of charts, but I know that they'll get nailed pretty rapidly in the weeks shortly after we get back. Not least because the entire Kathara program development is our given focus as far as we can see in the future. That means through 2005, with nominal amounts of physical grid work to do. So there's a huge amount of focus on bringing the healing modalities and their development and progression more to the fore than they've been for the last 2 years. I expect more from the Kathara program, in short. But you find that there'll be a much closer relationship, is my take, between what we call grid work and personal facilitation, although I think that's why Ash was being directed to talk about the two forms of presentation. I mean, there is a whole bunch of stuff that one talks about when you talk about grid level and you talk about galactic level and all the other politics, sure. But I think we'll find that the distinction between the two areas of focus will become less and less detectable as it has been, say, from the early stages where you had sort of wacky, ET kind of UFO-y kind of feeling things over there, and you had client healing facilitation over here, and they were really kept very far apart. I think they'll converge as we move through the next 5, 6, 7 years. It's inevitable that they do. All right. So are you guys up for a little practice? All right. Well, look, I mean, if we can do this two ways. I can do the kind of very pedestrian long pauses and waits and all the rest of it. People do their thing. Or I can do it a little more quickly, hoping for a first take okay from everyone, so that everyone gets a chance to receive. You know, I'd like you all to receive. So even if that means it may be a little bit lumpy, you know, a little bit, because there won't be time and space for questions, and try and save the questions until we're done. So we'll move through it quite quickly so that we try and get everybody into try out as giving, and everyone will get to receive as well, all right? Now, what we will have to do to avoid causing significant chaos and possible personal injury is we're going to have to work in a standing and seated position for this to be relatively simple. So if whoever's going to play practitioner first was to stand next to the person who's going to be their client for the next half an hour, if you can organize yourself so that the practitioner is going to stand up next to the person who's going to be client, just get that far.